All right, good evening, my people. Facts over feelings. I don't know how many episodes this take. How many we got here going on? We got a lot, as you say, a lot. So just thank everybody for coming in. I'm going to share this on my page real quick so folks can see it. Folks is getting ready to come in, but y'all come on in, come on in. Here we are. Boom, boom. So as our custom, we're going to pick up from kind of where we left off. Just want to thank everybody for coming in and joining us this evening. We have our claims to be Black MAGA, Mr. Orlando Owens here, to my right and probably to your left, and then to my left and then to your right, we have Mr. Jordan Roman, who is a card-carrying member of the Democratic Party. And he's always said he can kind of be swayed both ways. If you're making sense, you're talking sense, we'll listen to you. And as you know from watching my show, and if any of you guys follow me on Facebook, I am a liberal, but I'm right in the middle myself of liberal policies and things of that nature. Again, tonight's conversation is going to kind of pick up from where we left off last week. And I'm going to make sure got that on. Last week we stopped at, we're talking about Black education, Black students in Wisconsin. We kind of stopped there. And tonight I want to pick up on housing and segregation tonight. Again, anybody that has any context, anything that to the discussion points that we're going over, please feel free to comment with us. I'll be checking the comments back and forth as we proceed forward. But if you have anything that you would like to add of value to our conversation, please do so. Especially to my family members that's watching. Y'all always tell me, I want to come on the show. I want to come on the show. I want to talk. Well, come on. We here right now. We live. So come on through and add to the conversation. So this evening, again, we're going to start out with housing and segregation. Then we're going to segue into some other conversations as we normally do. As we have how we start is not always how we finish. We can go left and then we're going to maybe turn right and turn right and turn left. So you just got to follow along for the ride, right? All right. So housing segregation tonight. So open segment here is Milwaukee is one of the most segregated cities in America, and Black home ownership rates are significantly lower than white residents. Question is housing segregation in Wisconsin the result of policy? Yes or no? I'm going to start you off, Mr. Orlando, with that question.
Is housing
segregation in Wisconsin the result of policy? Yes or no?
I think it could be. I think currently I would say no, but I understand how we got here. It came from segregation, where the Blacks were allowed in our city to live and to kind of do what we do. I would say today people are free to go where they can go based on their availability to pay the monies and the rents and the mortgages where you want to.
Okay.
So I think also people choose to live in a certain neighborhood, which I think is also okay. I'm not against segregation. I think
you're not against segregation.
I'm not. I think when we had Black lawyers and Black doctors right here in our city, right in the same neighborhood, I think it was something good. What I'm against is forced integration.
So, but do you think having Black doctors, lawyers, things that you have on community, you think that's segregation, or is that just having your own community which you can live in?
I think it started off as the color lines, right?
Okay.
But in that color line, people say, "Well, we want to cross the viaduct with Father Grappy, open housing." Mm-hmm. And what happened was all of our Black, role models and people who were maybe the affluent, they all moved away.
By choice?
I would say they chose to move. Okay. And then as a result of that, we lost that need to see, the Black doctor, the Black lawyer, the Black whatever, to say, I can aspire to that because I can see that person. That's Mr. Johnson. He owns the store, But so I think we got kind of twisted. I'm against forced integration, but I do believe people, to your point, Jordan, people have a choice, but I think we forgot the need to have those people still as a staple in the community.
Okay. Same question for you, Jordan. Is housing segregation in Wisconsin the result of policy?
Yes.
Why do you feel that way?
Unequivocally, yes. Some good points there. I think I asked the question around choice. I think we have to go back into history and think around what caused migration of Black folks out to the. Yes, there's some credence around the notion of forced integration and crossing the color line and whatnot. But when you ask specifically around policy, there was a certain thing called urban renewal or urban blight. There was a freeway that was purposely put down the middle of the most prominent and prosperous Black community of this state on purpose to build a highway through, which discarded all those Black families who had wealth and who had businesses and who had some economic mobility and freedom to do that and force them out into different areas. So there was some forced integration as well with that coming through. And that's a policy decision that was made back in those days to do that and to do that specifically in that area. So but that's just broadly, if you paint the picture of Milwaukee and why it is today and how the city is segregated, is because of things like redlining. That's a policy prescription that is still, you feel the tenets of that today around the laws and how insurance and how home access to homes, buying for homeowners is that. So there's different policy levels that were implemented purposely by federal and municipal governments that we're still seeing some of that stuff today.
Let me ask you, Jordan, as an addendum to that question, why do you feel that was done, in your honesty?
I mean, a lot of reasons. I mean, that's economic reasons. I get, when downtown is your main economic engine, you want to have proximity to that. That 43 highway goes directly adjacent to downtown, and you're trying to spur that. It was back in the 50s, whatever. So they were trying to expand. But the other part of that was, again, we talk about these racial components in policy. There was intention by the government at that time to move a prosperous Black neighborhood or populations out of the city that was most close to the economic engine of the city. So they wanted to move those families out. They wanted to decrease the level of political capital that the Black community had at that time in this community. And they were successful in doing that by disbanding them and dividing them out and making them go into different areas of the city. And I think we lost that. There is some credence again to what happened to those Black neighborhoods. Why can't we get back into those things? I would like to see more prosperous all Black neighborhoods or more diverse neighborhoods where you have prominent Black families who are the doctors and lawyers and the gas station owners and the business owners who are there, so that we can have what they call this diversified economy, where you can have different types of people live in the same area. So you can see, hey, I see a doctor on my street. I see a lawyer. I can look up and have mentors and say that is an example of what I can aspire to be and grow to be. And I think we've missed some of that because those families have left the neighborhoods.
Well, I think
in the counter to that, sir?
So to the highway, or just the whole idea?
Well, the whole idea.
So I think redlining is a real thing. You had housing covenants as well too. That people put in their contracts wouldn't be able to sell to certain people. I believe that also what's spurred up also is how do we return now? It's tough with the crime levels over years of just poverty. It'd be hard to get investors, people to invest, to come back to say, I want to give it a shot. I think that gentrification is a real thing. People want to move closer to downtown, and it's convenient. The freeway, we could debate, if that eminent domain was really necessary. Could they move that freeway somewhere else? I wouldn't know. I mean, could have been further east, maybe. Possibly. I don't know. But I think it's just one of those things that I don't know. It was always meant to, purposely separate the Black community. But was it more in line with the land of Milwaukee and how the city was made? So I'm not going to say it was done as a sinister plan to say we're going to uproot and move Blacks out because we want this freeway right here. I think if they would have did it, whoever was right there, in that area, because the freeway goes through the city, through the heart of the city, and it kicks out on the south side as well too. So I don't know. It's one of those things that I wouldn't, not being there in that time to say was it a sinister plan or was it just the best place to put the freeway?
So let's talk about that then. Let's talk about, I mentioned political capital. You have the Great Migration of population, Black people come into the city who have their own agency autonomy, who are owning business. They're building political capital. They're building self-agency in the city. So they have a power block that was starting to form in the city around advocating for addressing our needs in the community, right?
Okay.
So think about the timing in that 1954, 58, 62, all those things, the stuff going on with busing and housing integration, all those different things. Do you think that there was, to some of that, a resistance from the power political class, the white political class, as justification to do some of that, to break up that political conglomerate in that area?
You can look at the power of the Black vote. You want to talk about gerrymandering or whatever the case may be on a city scale. I think those historic Black neighborhoods always had political power. I mean, although you can look at some of the old pictures of the Common Council, you see white folk representing this part of the town.
Mm-hmm.
You say, well, how does that work? When Black people were the predominant, the dominant population, you still had a white alderman that was the alderman of the area. So I just don't know if the pushing out of those black families, you push them out into new wards and new parts of the city, and those wards became more Black, and those wards became, I guess, again, maybe if you push them out, I'm just in my mind trying to do the math and how did that work out politically. They still voted. They still went into probably predominantly Black wards, and so the political power, I would say, it may have shifted from one ward to another, but you still had the voting block that was still powerful.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. I just think there is a disconnect somewhere, because when you amass the political power there, and then all of a sudden you remove it and it's gone into different areas where they have different interests and different things happen there, that dilutes the collective power of the Black community, especially in the city. And as there's questions to be said about that. Like, why is that? Why hasn't the Black community amassed that much political power since those times when they had that much as a block?
I don't know if we don't have that. I mean, you look at the number, and I know our friend who's running for office is not here tonight, or maybe coming a little later. He can tell you the numbers of people that live in those wards and say, look at how many people actually don't vote. So is that Black political power not there, or is it underutilized? Yeah,
it's definitely underutilized. And I would never argue that the Black vote is not underutilized. I think where we get into our disagreement is then around economics and class. You moved a prosperous middle class Black population out of those areas, and then you concentrated populations of poverty who didn't have the same economic benefits or opportunities. So that comes with its own issues. So that is, I think, we see the reinforcement of that over time for the last 30, 40 years, 50 years. We're seeing, where did that political class, economic class go, and why aren't they amassing back in the central city? So that to me is the bigger issue where we need to probably discuss.
I think you look at Bronzeville and all the historical neighborhoods that the names are still there, but the power is definitely gone. Bronzeville was a bustling, retail and clubs, and Garfield, all those, historic land sites, they're gone. Why people never came back? That's the $1 billion question.
Well, and that's policy. There's reasons for that. There is entrenchment from owners who left, and then other owners came in over time. I used to work in housing organizations, and there's this thing around the investment class sitting on their homes and not trying to sell to Black buyers to come back in the city. The reason why we're starting to see somewhat of a shift in the Bronzeville area specifically now is because we have, from a policy level, policymakers such as Malalai Coggs and the Common Council, Ray Hill at the MLK BID, who are strategically trying to create initiatives and bring economic investment back into those areas, and encouraging business owners of color to come in and to rebirth this Black Renaissance area that we had there in the past. I think they're unattractive doing it. It's going to take some years to do that, but until we had actual purposeful intentionality behind it, that's why we were seeing just years of nothing and chaos happening.
Well, you look at, though, again, you look at the Bronzeville area, the MLK area, Brown, all those historic places. That's where the black people were segregated. But then when you disperse them, then you pull, and we're stones throw away from the Sherman Park area, red neighborhood. Those were predominantly white neighborhoods at one point.
Right.
And the blacks came from, the affluent blacks who could maybe afford their homes. They bought those homes, and those neighborhoods then became the more working class King High School area. Those became the working class neighborhood that maybe was here closer to the freeway at one time, but they took over those neighborhoods. Those were right neighborhoods at one point.
Right.
So I think I think the power just shifted. Instead of saying it left, I think it has shifted. And you look at those King neighborhoods, the Sherman Park neighborhood, those places were phenomenal at one point for where black middle class lived. And then, people did move, people did sell. The suburbs became more attractive to some people. Want to move to Brown Deer. I can afford to do it now. I have the money. And I think people should have the freedom to move where they want to. But I think there should be a strategic plan that, hey, the further you move away, there's going to be a cost to that, for being that black alderman that lives right here or whatever, the guy from GE who lives right here. So you do kind of lose some of your star power when that happens. I would agree.
So next question for you, Orlando, says Republicans often oppose housing regulations. How does deregulation help black renters facing discrimination?
Well, I think you just saw Donald Trump pass a executive order to stop the big investment companies from buying up a lot of those single family homes. Now, I think I think economic tools change from time to time. I think there was a big push for like HUD and the first time buyer programs. You remember even with the bus, all the rental property bus, and it was the early 2000s, 2009, all of that when the economy burst. So I don't think Republicans are against housing policy or having you need to have some regulations. We could debate, was the mortgage bus too loose of regulations when you had people that had no doc loans,
the access,
so we could debate, was that was the Wild Wild West during that time. I bought a few properties during that time myself and had some troubles, but I guess again,
you still own them?
Unfortunately, no. We had to do some things. I used the tools that were available to me to protect the assets I do have now.
Okay,
but I think that there's a push to have some policies. We're not against, housing policy. I think what we get into is when we start to say, again.
So wait a minute, hold on, before we go into that. So you're saying, or you feel that the Republican Party is not opposed to housing regulations?
Well, when you say regulations, what do you mean? Can you break that down? What do you mean by that?
Well, you got
what do you consider regulation?
We got those things that help individuals to try to get into housing. Especially, you got your let's say, for instance,
rent control bills. You have rental rights, low income housing.
So I think rent controls is an issue again, as a byproduct of the market, right? And that's where I think when you want to have a healthy balance between government involvement and the free market doing this thing. Government shouldn't lean too heavy into the free markets, because that's what people, that's where you make your money at. Okay. So if rents are going at a certain level, I can tell you right now that there are certain programs in the city that will pay a certain amount of money for people who are low income. The problem with that is some of the actual working class people can't really afford what the program is paying. So therefore, the guy who's works a 9 to 5 says, well, wait a minute, I'm getting priced out because all the people on the block are in some type of program. And the programs are saying, well, we'll pay $1,000 for rent versus the guy here can only pay $800. So you're like, well, wait a minute, man, I'm a working guy trying to make my bills, but half the block is on some type of program and they're paying $1,100 for rent. And here, old bot landlord, hey man, the rents is going up in the neighborhood, and if you can't pay it, I might be able to get it from one of these renters in one of these programs because that's what they paying over here. Okay. So that program had a adverse, impact. You're trying to help someone, but the market bared out that since I'm a landlord, I can get that. I'm gonna charge that. But the working class guy who has no help, he said, well, I can't. You're pricing me out. So it's a double-edged sword. But rent controls, again, I'll finish here. Rent controls, I think, are not the place to be. I have a deeper concern of why do we need rent control?
Yeah.
Why is the guy who's working 9 to 5 cannot afford to stay in the same apartment that a person who getting help can? What's the disconnect there?
So we're talking about affordability.
We can say that. Yeah.
You sure? Because your Orange Jesus
Hey,
didn't. He don't like that word affordability.
Well,
Hey,
apparently now
we
he
can-
does.
we can
So
So he likes it now.
We can
Today
talk
he likes
election
it.
season
We
now.
can talk
Okay.
about, because again, policies, when you start looking at, why can't the guy who works 9 to 5 have the wage he needs to have a home?
Yeah.
Why do we have so many people who are in need of vouchers or low income housing?
Right.
Why do we need to expand more? Because that's a deeper issue. The voucher program and the low income housing program is only a band-aid for a much deeper issue. And the deeper issue is what's going on with the local economy.
Yes. What's going on with local economy? So you said a lot there. So I
Yeah, I can unpack there, right?
I'm trying to write down how I'm gonna respond to different things, but
It's integral. It's connected. but
it is all connected. And I think that is this is where I wanted to start. Now, I think we have to level set, and when we talk about the working man, and I think, this is what I'm hearing when you say the working man, you're implying that the working poor are not the working men or women, right? That's what I'm hearing. So the working man who lives in that area who does not qualify for whatever subsidies or whatever program, he's in that same area. Chances are, unless this is a diverse area where you have affordable housing, which usually has some percentage of affordability in, especially the newer buildings, they have 15, 20% that are mandated that they have to have affordability price index, right? That's first. Okay. On the other end, you have that going back to that working man who in that area, if he doesn't qualify as currently things are, because there's not a lot of integrated diverse neighborhoods, there's some, but not a lot of them. Chances are because he doesn't qualify for those subsidies, chances are generally that family has already moved out to another area where they can't afford to be in, right? Generally.
Well, he's going to have to move if he can't afford the raise the higher the rent's going up. He's going to have to move.
Right. That's not just in those areas with affordable housing in those areas. That's across the landscape and housing. So
Well, I think our series of questions that we had from last week to this week, they all build. And shout out to the producer for having some great questions, and the host. But let's be clear. There are some deeper issues on why we have so many people who are in need of low-income housing.
yes,
Rent controls.
absolutely.
That's a problem.
I'm
Yes.
going
That's a
to go
problem.
back to it. Now,
That's a
again,
problem.
when we have individuals who are, generationally in Hillside or Berryland,
Mhm.
and I'm like, wait,
West Line. Don't forget about West Line and Barry.
you
Yeah.
know, the program was never meant to be like a lifestyle. Like it was supposed to help, and then
How does it help? So you provide housing. Let's just use that. So you have a West Lime, different entities, right? And they provide lower cost affordability. What other services are there? Is there a job program? Is there something that we're getting those families into a job that can pay a higher rate? Are we doing educational programs? Are we doing workforce development programs? So that they can afford to not just live into their home, but then progress into the next bracket.
Get out
Like
my
those,
pocket. Get out
those
my
are
I have a
those are
question.
the
Can I
things-
speak to that?
Yeah.
So I'm no conservative. However, I do agree with the whole why is the whole family? It's like the legacy situation.
Right.
So I think
That's a problem.
Yeah, but
That's generational.
I
Which is
think
a
it's
problem.
kind of messed up for in that case, the housing case, because it just automatically the kids, the younger people, as soon as they turn 18, they get to qualify to go to a low income apartment.
or they inherit the one.
They inherit the one,
Mhm.
and I think that kind of sets them up for failure.
Yeah.
Because now my mom's rent was $18. I'm going to bank on my rent being $18, and I'm not going to do anything more than what's going on in my home.
And that's a problem.
That is a problem.
absolutely
So
a problem.
maybe finding some type of balance there, because to tell me at 16, I don't have to work too hard. You get what I'm saying? Like I'm going to inherit this $18 rent or whatnot. But
Well, you don't have to be you don't have to be conservative to think the way you think. That's practical thinking, and that's what most conservatives are. You may not be a Republican.
no. I never want to be a Republican, MAGA, nothing.
Right. You
None
may
of
not be
it.
you may not be a
None of it.
Republican politically, but in your philosophies, those are conservative values. You say, well, that don't make sense. It seems like that maybe hurt a population. When you so the question is, remember, some of you all may remember the wait list.
Oh yeah.
People who are waiting for actually need an opportunity.
Yeah.
And they said, well,
Yeah.
we need more housing. But what about the housing that, to your point, that we've been handed down from generation to generation? We're not breaking it. But George, to your point, you in my pocket, man, because one of the things that when I did my other job, full disclaimer, I work for U.S. Senator Ron Johnson, but I am in my own capacity.
Got a call from a telecall from them today.
There
I
you
said,
go.
"What?"
How
Yeah.
much? Right.
I put your
How
name
did
on-
you get that number? Right.
Put your phone number on the list.
I think he had
And
something to do with
needs to hear-
that.
he needs to hear this.
Right.
And so, funny that you say that. So I'm working in the, one of the housing development programs, and I'm saying, they said, well, we're all green here, and we recycle the water, and this is why we need more money. I said, okay, well, tell me how many people graduated from the program. To your point,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So, we don't keep that number, but you can tell me how many people enrolled. Though.
Yeah.
Who says that? Who said that?
So I won't name names, but this is I'm on my tour.
Okay.
Because they wanted more federal funding.
Okay.
So but look, we're green here, and we got a high, recycled air, and incredible building. And so it's like, well, yeah, but we need more though, because so many people, our enrollment is on the wait list is this. I'm like, okay, well, tell me why you can't get these folk in here out. But we don't keep track of that. I said, so there's no job fairs, there's no job developer that's connected to this. Well, we have one, but it's really up to the people to come down and get.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Absolutely.
okay.
Mhm.
So again, the motivation is not to lift people up and say, hey, let's get you connected to Jordan program, and he has a jobs program. Come on to the Joseph Project. It was not that. That's not the focus. The focus is, again, how many more units can we build?
So I think to that point, I think that is when we talk about scalability and systemizing the problem for a solution to the problems is you can't just do a housing structure alone and think that's going to fix the problem. You have to partner with a wraparound supportive system that says, here is your educational component. Here's your workforce development component. Here is your corporate and organizations who are here to create that bridge and that pipeline between housing, work, economies, right? So you have to have a larger scale solution to the problem, because it's not going to work with just one Band-Aid fixing the housing area. You have to have the programs to go along
You
with
sound
it.
like a mayor.
And
Mhm.
so when you talk about from a leadership perspective,
Oh, that word. There you go.
yeah, it's how do we get bigger, better solutions, more innovative solutions around what is it going to take to fix this comprehensive problem, not just look at it from a housing specific issue. How do we increase investment to the point? If I was asking for investment for the federal government, I wouldn't just say I need millions of dollars for this structure. I need millions of dollars for this structure, and I need this workforce development program. Not just that one. I need 3, 4, 5 of them who are coming around with the system and working together to create a solution to the problem. And I think that is where we fail from a leadership across both sides, because one side is saying we're not going to give you any investment, and the other side of the world, we want to invest in these things, but we only want to invest in the housing part of it. That's the problem.
And to add on to that, I really
Did you
believe
like that?
I think it's forward thinking. I think that's the way I would approach it. I would
Oh,
say
good.
every program should have off ramps.
Yep.
Every program should have an end date. Every program should be gearing to move people up and not keep them where they are. Every program, every anti-poverty program, every low should always try to say, how do we get you to the next level?
Yeah.
If we don't have a plan,
Right.
then we're planning for the people to stay right where they are, and that's not cool.
And you build in benchmarks. So it's now the solution. Like we're gonna subsidize this housing for you, but you are then mandated to enroll in this class that's showing you how to do XYZ with this return on that investment, so that in 6 months to a year, you now can either qualify for something else, or you can use what you've learned to earn your own income and do your own thing.
and actually that brings me to what I was just going to say, Jordan, that I do believe the programs, the outcome of the programs are probably good-hearted, but I do believe you have to have some kind of guardrails. You have to have some kind of culpability of that program to say, yes, there should not have been a reason why you ask that question, and the answer is, well,
we don't keep the
you need to keep that number so that you can say this percentage of people are in this program, and they got out of this program, and they can do such and such.
That should be required, though.
That should
That
be a
doesn't even
requirement.
make sense.
And this person
How do you
that
even
works in the
gauge?
world of
How do you even
quality
gauge the
assurance and
success of the program?
compliance,
without-
right? There's no way for you to gauge it. There's been no way. And Frank Williams in the comments, who also sells life insurance, by the way, Frank Williams.
Frank Williams.
Okay, Frank,
Hit
you
him
got
up,
a
hit him
little
up.
commercial going.
Because he helped me with a couple of policies.
We remember. I'm saying
Yeah.
he has you on payroll.
Very well. Hey.
What you
Well,
mean?
I don't know what a greenbacks is from that. So if that's the case, I need to see some money.
He could,
But-
go ahead and sponsor you.
But he made he made a comment here. He says the problem is they get in people that get into these programs. He says they get into the houses they want to work, so they get in lower or free. He says he's a former Milwaukee police officer as well. He says I legit seen people stop coming to work because they didn't want to lose their rent assistance or food stamps. He says it was so bad that our job with a stipulation that people had to be at work for a certain amount of hours to get their commission as the
As an
company was
officer?
being burnt
But that,
by the people doing this.
that's a
Wow.
policy that
Where
goes
he works
back.
at
That
now.
goes back
Oh,
to
now.
the welfare queen thing back in when they had was that Raising the Sun movie where the mother had the family in the house, but they couldn't have the man there because the man there and had a job.
you got a
couldn't be there
sponsor. He
qualified.
said he gonna
Like
sponsor you.
those are that from a policy level is where we need to have some correction there. I do think there needs to be some amount of
Oh, he said not as an officer.
Oh yeah, I know you could.
there does need to be some correction in that, whereas you have to have some kind of stipulations or some kind of requirements for people to have those benefits. I would never, even as a Democrat, I would never say you shouldn't have that. There need to be some work put in
Yes.
into the system for you to get
Yes.
something out of it. And I
Correct.
think that we get a bad rap because people just think that we just want all free stuff. No one is saying that everything should be free. Like people should work for stuff, and that creates motivation. That creates a population of people who can see that there's an ends to a mean. But then that creates a population of people to see. Before I even say that, we create this thing like affordable housing is like the best thing in the world. Now, when you come from nothing, that's all you've seen, that's all you know, that's a different story. But when you know there's better out there and you had comfortability in something that's above, beyond, and greater than that, then you aspire to do that. And I think that's where we need to start having the conversation around those communities to say, you can do much better for yourself if you just see what the possibilities are out there. And we'll
Correct.
help you get that way, but you have to put some work in it as well to help us get you there.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Yeah, I
pretty
think the conservatives kind of give a view of you can do it, but they aren't relatable. You know what I mean? It's kind of like
Or you can do it, but you got to do it all in yourself.
all on yourself, and none of them did it all on their
None
self.
of
So
them.
that's the problem. That's the disconnect to me. Your party isn't relatable at all.
To the common man, they make it seem they
Yeah.
say these things, but
Yeah.
but a lot of your policies and things
Yeah.
don't relate to that kind of person.
So I think those are I think those are rumors. I think when you look at it,
What's the rumor?
What's the rumor?
So to say the Republicans or conservatives don't want to see, we're unrelatable. Say you lift yourself up, but they never lift up themselves, and
That's not true.
No, it's not true. So we want the programs to actually work. We want programs to be effective. We want to fund great programs
Mhm.
and not duplications of failure. We want to, if this W-2 agency has a winning plan on how to get people working, for whatever reason, their success numbers, we want to duplicate that.
Your current administration that's there, you feel like they all have put in the work to get where they are today?
I mean, again, I think people have very successful families. I think people are successful in their careers. So to say that, you mean somebody who's been like grandfathered into a job or data boyed into a job? Come on, that's my son. So, that happens all the
You
time.
don't.
That happens all the time.
Yeah.
So everybody.
I think
I mean, I could list a bunch of people in his fraternity that because he's frat, he was able to get a door call, get a call
Because he did what? Though?
that's
Because-
true.
because he-
That's
because he-
true.
he worked.
But because
It's about
because
networking.
it's not like he was just sitting at home. He did the work behind
yeah,
it.
but-
what I'm saying is,
right.
You look at the current administration. If everybody there, it's kind of like this kind of
The Fox 6 News guy.
Well,
So
so
has that.
What?
Pete
I think we
served-
can say
Yeah.
let's not do that
He served in the
today. To
He
get lost
what?
in the
He served in the
conversation.
military.
He did not.
So he has that. He
Barely.
served.
Barely.
He did, sir. I'm gonna give him that.
So can I-
But
Barely.
Could I just step in
Yeah.
really quick? So
Yeah.
I think again, let's not get anecdotal around specific people. Like
Caught
let's
up.
look at it from a system, right? So when I hear you saying that, I'm looking at where you say they had help. My mind automatically goes to the New Deal, to the VA bill that was
Mhm.
enacted after World War II
Mhm.
when veterans came home. Who were those people from the New Deal specifically who were systematically taken out of those programs? It was the Black community, right? other communities got access to those loans to buy at cost home or low cost homes through mortgages, right? And they were able to build generational wealth through housing, through the New Deal.
So you have to point to that, Jordan, in history to tell me that you had black vets who were denied their GI Bills. I mean, that's a pretty bold statement.
Not just the GI Bill,
Well,
the
the
New
housing
Deal,
market, I'm not saying
benefits
to
entitlements,
show-
all of the
that's a
programs
pretty-
that were out
pretty-
there to help.
That's a pretty
those
big,
families.
That's a pretty big claim to say the military that was geared toward becoming more segregated, about desegregated unit of fighting men and women.
Yeah.
For them to say that they were denied their GI Bills.
But a lot of them were.
I mean,
They were.
Absolutely. I can go in my family
They did not.
and
That-
call out names for
but then
people who
that's
were
a class-
actually.
that's a class action suit.
Frank, I agree with
That's
that.
a class action suit. To say
How is that a class action suit? That to
It's-
say
it's many
to say
men.
actual what was actually
No,
true.
what I'm saying is,
And housing
if-
benefits.
What I'm saying is, if those veterans were denied their benefits because of their color,
Not if they were.
They were, no, not
They
if.
that's a
were.
class
And I
action
can
suit
say it as
that
what
we
he
should
said.
be suing the federal government.
We
So
should.
so
Now, who can
therefore-
say they didn't try?
Well, I don't
Correct.
know, but again, you're putting this out here like these men
No,
denied.
all I'm saying is
It's true.
systemically, you had government programs that were created to benefit one segment of society, and they systematically discriminate against Black soldiers, homeowners, people from these different programs for a variety of reasons. But what happens now is 60 years later, you can see generational wealth that was created from a policy of the New Bill that
Correct.
helped those families over time get into homes that were systematically denied to other populations.
Correct. And that's
So,
what someone in the
I mean-
comments said. Someone said they weren't denied outright, but they were denied.
They were out, some were
system-
denied outright, but systematically.
But systematically as well. I got to shoot because this guy's he's all over here. I just want to out him real quick. Orenthal Simpson.
And that's a solution. When we get to solutions, I have a solution
Yeah.
for that right there.
Orenthal Simpson says black investment groups, but blacks don't want to work with each other and want that big gold chain and
Woo.
Range Rover. You don't want to listen, sink or swim. He's also had a comment in here saying black folks were historical, the most conservative people in the country because of the black church. Maybe that's what's wrong with the so-called community these days. Too liberal.
I wouldn't.
And then he also says there's a shortage of inventory and housing.
Yep.
And interest rates, are high. Financial institutions buy too much single family homes. You said your boy said they're trying to put a cap on that or something like, right?
They are.
Banks holding too many mortgages, taxes are sky high, and builders see that demand is higher than supply. So that drives prices out of touch with medium household incomes. I can give you that. I can
Mhm.
give you
Yes.
that. Yeah, that's so true. But man, yeah. And I can say my grandfather, who's going on to be with the Lord, fought in the Korean War and told me stories about how he came back here and he couldn't get nothing.
Couldn't do it.
And it was treated horribly and
Well,
had
racism.
and had stories and had heard some stories of people that had of his
Well, hopefully you
comrades
all,
that they came
hopefully
back.
You all sue.
and
you
that's
sue
just
for
horrible.
those benefits.
That's just horrible.
And if our country denied men because of their color, I hope there was some class action suits
Yeah.
during those times that happened and they won.
I think we can look that up and see that there actually were some class lawsuits there. I mean, you look at the Black Farmers Union or Black Farmers right now, they've had a lawsuit on the book for 18, 20 years around what happened during the Reagan years around that. So
Yeah.
class action lawsuits take time. And
Well-
then when you go and you file a class action suit and you win, and then an administration comes in and reverses that decision, that's a policy decision that is made to hinder those.
Once the judge comes down with that's you want.
Well, I think it's playing itself out, but they're absolutely
It's
like
definitely playing
so
itself out.
to say. I just want to say that the Black community did not sue the federal government for that. I think maybe there should have been larger numbers, but
I don't know. I just haven't.
you
heard
know,
it
we
before.
need
What
to
I've-
talk
what
about
I've
that.
heard,
Why that
I
is.
think to the chat. I think point was more systematic ways of denying mortgages, denying his GI Bill as far as housing, covenants, redlining. I think that's probably more of a factual thing on how vets were denied, because they had the GI loan or the bill, and no one wanted to, whatever relative they want to take it because he wanted to live out here. But he said, "Well, I don't want to live here." Well, no, we'll give it to you, but you got to live right here. Like, no, why can't I live over there?
That's
So-
redlining.
Right. So I think that's probably more of a actual thing. But
Yeah, but they all work together, and different parts of that,
Sure.
like all those things
And that's
compounded
that's why the Freeman Bank was so important.
yeah,
right?
they're free rates for it.
The foundational black movement was so important because you needed black banks, you needed black lenders. Again, the reason why you needed black capital,
Right.
you needed black doctors, you needed black lawyers. So again,
Yes.
the rush to integrate was not a good thing.
But then let's talk about the decimation of the black bank. So for you guys who don't know that, what's the book? Shit, I just had it in my head. It'll come to me, but there's a book out there that talks just about the Freedmen's Bank and black capital. The color of money. That's the name of the book. Great book that talks just about that. So I don't want to gloss over another point that he made around the black leadership in the black leaders or of the time who left themselves for their own prosperity and different things. I think that there is some credence to that, as well as saying, why haven't we seen more entrepreneurs and black wealthy people as a community come in and as a cohort to start building communities again? I think you're seeing some of that now with Thrive on Collaboration and their Black Leadership Group and Sherman Phoenix. So there's different buckets of it happening. But again, it all to me is all like, where is the vision and strategy, right? Where are we going to get to the point where we say the black community is missing something? As a black community, we need to fix this because we can't depend on the system that be to do that. So those people who have it, and I'm not saying mandated that they have to do it, but it would be nice to me if we can pull a larger group of those people to pull those resources to say, we're going to build economic industry. We're going to build jobs for our community to do that and survive. And I think we need to just see more of that happen on a larger scale.
Well, I from the first term, I love the idea of the opportunity zones that the Trump administration talked about in the first administration of having private dollars connect with entrepreneurs in traditionally black neighborhoods. So I think that's a great, private, public collaborative that, you have, but more private and, public funding. But I think those are always great collaborations. So hopefully we do some more, in this community again with that. Milwaukee has one of, if not the highest, but one of the highest levels of nonprofits.
Yeah, I give you that. Yes.
Whoa.
Yeah.
There are not enough people that are in business for business. They're nonprofits. And I think sometimes that kind of changes your drive and your identity when you're chasing after grants all the time, chasing all the fundraisers versus just having a product. And here's my product. I sell it for this amount of money and you pay me what I'm worth. So I think, when you say world of the entrepreneurs, they're all nonprofits.
Yes. And yes. So, but I think when you get into the amount of nonprofits, I think there's some personal inside a home door, closed doors, we had to have some conversations.
Yes.
There's a lot of egos in nonprofit space in Milwaukee.
Yes.
And people are competing because the resources are limited. So everyone is competing over one or two grants and they're all trying to jump over each other's throat to get the same pot of money. So that's an issue too. But there is definitely an issue around the ego and leadership. We're seeing, why can't we get these leaders of these nonprofits to start working more together and think of things more in a systematic view?
Because it's only one source of funding. There's only one grant. So therefore,
right.
You will not work together because, again, I like it on some levels because it's competition. Only the best nonprofit will win. And that's for the ones who don't, they will soon close their doors because they will not receive the grants. They will not receive the referrals because they're not successful. So I think on that level, that's a kind of a free market identity, kind of a free market thing that when you don't succeed at business, you go out of business. And so I would say it's going to eventually, I would say, work itself out, so to speak.
Yeah.
How do y'all feel about in each district, the leaders there, the auditor people and all that, like really holding those nonprofits accountable for what they do in those areas?
I mean, go ahead.
What do you think? What do you all think that would look like?
Well, I believe, again, if we hold our aldermen to task, that probably would look different. But a lot of times that goes unchecked because a lot of aldermen in these districts where these nonprofits are functioning, they don't have that oversight of the aldermanic office. They don't have, the city stepping in, doing oversight, making sure that they're in compliance, that they are doing what they should be doing. Right. The outputs of that program should be coming back with some kind of return. That's a problem. But again, and that speaks to a whole level of just
Yeah,
us as
sound like
people.
conservatives.
No, we don't.
No,
This comes to
yeah,
people of
no,
not
I'm
holding
sorry.
our aldermen or people in elected office to task.
Yeah, I
That's
think
one of the problems.
I think another problem is, again, and I keep sounding like broad, but what is the collective vision?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
What-
Especially for that district. Like, what do they need?
From an aldermanic position, what
Yeah.
is on a city level? What is the strategic goal from the city?
Yeah.
Right? What are the alders in each of their districts doing to supplement with that overall vision?
Right.
What's happening now is Westmoreland has a strategic plan over here, and Larissa Taylor has this one for her district, and everybody else has this. Russell Stamper has this, but
shouldn't-
they're
shouldn't-
not all in. They're not all aligned with what the overall vision and strategy of the city is.
But shouldn't it?
So they don't meet.
They do meet,
Oh, yeah.
but they do, but there's not a cohesive.
But I think that's only
Message.
right because each neighborhood has a unique identity. I would think.
But they have they should have a common goal though.
So I think the mayor has a goal and a vision. I think the alders is they represent their constituents. And so what do they want in the neighborhood? Another community center? Because it's like the saying goes. I mean, each district is a little bit different, and they have a different mentality. Would it be nice if the alders supported the vision of the mayor? I guess so. But I think they have their first obligation is to those constituents.
True.
What they want in their neighborhood. If they don't want a liquor store there, if they don't want another daycare there,
Mhm.
that alderman should be reflective of what the neighborhood wants.
That's
No,
true.
I get that. I'm saying with all the nonprofits and all, like you said, like coming together, like
Mhm.
on some level, that because there's no togetherness.
Well-
Everyone's competing there, and everyone's hungry. You know what I mean? Like everyone is competing.
I think-
Everyone's trying to get
I
the
think
money
Yeah.
we've lost our ability to create leverage, and I think
Yes.
that is the bigger
Yeah.
piece. Is we keep having these conversations around what leaders are and what they're doing and not doing, instead of saying how do we as a collective
Yeah.
leadership body in Milwaukee come together and say this is what we are trying to do together.
Mhm.
I'm going to speak about the Urban League because I'm in the Urban League.
Mhm.
The Urban League is here. We should be focusing on the things that the Urban League does. The Urban League shouldn't be in every damn thing, right? Journey House shouldn't be in everything. Urban League is here in policy and advocacy. Urban League should be doing policy and advocacy.
Oh yeah.
And that's how you build a strategic framework to say, we're going to be here. You're going to be
Hey.
here. We're all moving up collective to what it is.
I
like
love
the
that.
Urban League. I like you over there. I like the Urban
And again, so there has to be a
Likewise.
strategy. There has to be what are we all collectively trying to do
Mhm.
from a Black community, and then that rolls into the people that you elect.
Yeah.
So I think what you're saying, Jordan, is that there's a disconnect between what the role of the city, the role of the elders, of the alders, the role of the nonprofit space. What are we doing? Is there a plan? Is just everything's just haphazard? Like, well, I'm gonna open up, Jews for girls, and I want to see like what? Okay,
Girls.
Pearl for girls,
Jews for
whatever.
girls.
Like, what's going on? So I get it. It sounds to be disconnected, disjointed. There's no real, connectability as far as like what's the drive here. There's no Cub Scouts to Boy Scouts to Eagle Scouts.
Right.
Mhm.
So how do you fix that? So we are in election season. So let's do it from different levels.
Yeah.
We know that we have a gubernatorial race. We have the state legislature. Let's make it local. Let's make it more local.
Yeah, this-
County executive is going to be an open office. So we have a vacancy there, and
Isn't
people are going to be vying for that. It will. I think it will. But that
Yeah.
he's distracting.
It's not on the same.
So it would
Say
be
again?
It's not on the same cycle as the governor's race.
the governor. I think it is actually.
It may be.
I
Yeah.
think it
So
is.
he's announced.
He's announced.
He's announced
You're
for-
distracting me.
I'm just saying, I didn't know he was on the same calendar.
I
politicians are always slick because
I believe it is, but I'm not
and it
sure.
might not- right,
It might not be in that same cycle, but it would be
They
soon
lose.
after that. It would be soon after. But my point is, from a strategic framework, you have a county executive seat coming open, right? From the county supervisor level, wouldn't it behoove the leaderships to have a strategic plan and say, this is what, as a county supervisory board, we're trying to see as policy initiatives, and we're going to promote that and send it to whoever the next county executive is and say, this is our collective agenda. If you are working on this, you can get our vote. Otherwise, you're going to vote for other people.
Well, I think I think we have to understand the role of the legislative body and the executive branch, right? They're two different bodies. And I think you have to leave room for the executive to have their own vision. You ideally,
But they represent the people, right?
well, let me finish the point. Ideally, you would say, well, if these are the 14 county supervisors who represent their neighborhoods, then county executive, we speak for the people. We're their representative.
Mhm.
And we're telling you, county executive, like these are the things that we collectively have agreed on, these 17 points
Mhm.
that affect each district a little bit differently. But these are the 17 agenda points that we hope you can adopt in your administration.
Mhm.
We're going to push the legislation towards your desk every chance we can. But I think there's a reason why you have checks and balances. But there is healthy discussion around the idea of everybody being on the same page. I think it's idealistic, because the executive wants to do what they ran on the campaign. They didn't run on the
But
county supervisors platforms. They had their own platform.
But it should be collective, and that they represent the people who are going to vote for that county executive.
All I'm saying is this: when you are running for the executive, you run on your own platform. Maybe there are some pieces from these county supervisors that candidate is going to run on, but he or she has their own platform.
Sure, but
and
if
the
that,
people have to vote on, do they see the vision this guy wants to run?
but if that county executive that verse to the policy recommendation that the people want, that person shouldn't be in office.
But aren't the people
At
voting
all.
for the county executive?
Right.
Yeah,
push
yeah.
the
So,
platform.
so the people heard that person run for office. They
Mhm.
heard their platform and said, you know what? I like this vision over that vision. I'm voting for this person. The same thing right now, but that is the checks and balances. Donald Trump has an agenda of being the president, but you have a Senate and you have Congress to say, well, these are the things we want to see get done. So you have a check and a balance.
That's a terrible example.
Terrible.
It's not
example.
terrible.
It's terrible.
That executive
It is.
branch has disregarded the other equal branches of government.
Again, that's what. But they're separate, right? Again,
It should be
Jordan,
separate.
Ideally, Jordan, when these executives
But they're
ran, when they ran, no matter what the county supervisors had to say, these men and women rolled out their agenda, rolled out their platform, and campaigned across this county and said, "This is what I'm standing on."
Right.
And then people decided, like, I'm with that, and voted for this person.
All I'm saying is there needs to be, again, this is the mind change. There needs to be a better approach to and looking at it holistically. We can't keep having, again, you siloed over here, having this place and a nonprofit and in the common council and in the counties. That we can't just keep working aimlessly, everybody doing their own thing, because we're not going to see a collective push for progress doing it that way.
Well, it's not collective though, right? And
But it needs to be collective.
See, I have a problem with that because again, each community is uniquely, have their unique footprint. They have unique needs, and honestly, it's separation of powers. I mean, this is the whole idea of the United States. The states had their own identity. They had their own issues. They they became the United States, but they each. I mean, that's the idea of federalism, right? Individual freedoms, and we take it on a micro level. The same thing for a county. Each county district has its own unique voice.
Sure. We're not
We're not arguing that
saying
at all.
They don't have their
But
unique
you can't
voice.
say, well, we want to have this kumbaya by everything we want as a county supervisor, county executive.
No.
You should do it.
I'm
Like,
saying that as a collective, the leadership needs to come together and offer a straightforward plan of progress for the city and the county.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
fair enough.
Travis Chambers in the comment says, if we're going to complain about the Travis Chambers, who's been a featured guest on this show.
That's the same Travis who won't come.
No, that's the other
different.
Travis.
All right.
That's Travis. That's Clark.
Okay.
Well, if we're going to complain about the state of Milwaukee for Black residents while ignoring the fact that we have the most diverse aldermanic makeup the city has ever had, then we're not actually looking for a resolution. We're looking for a narrative that absolves us from engaging with the reality in front of us.
Yep.
Quick tangent, he says, we keep talking about getting rid of the trolley, yet 10 of the original members who voted to approve it, which I was not in favor of, are still in office. Any move to eliminate it would require those same people to vote against their own decision. That's not progress, that's a lack of accountability. Until we're willing to connect outcomes to decision makers and hold leadership responsible beyond election night, we'll keep cycling through the same complaints without ever addressing the root of the problem. Ian Jordan says he didn't know this program, but good show. Thank you, sir, for tuning in. I think we got a new watcher this evening, so thank you, sir.
All right.
Yeah. So, well, yeah. So, what were you gonna say to that?
It's all that's true. Again,
From the comments.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I think we do need to hold again, as
But-
Jordan said, our automatic individual.
But here's the thing. You mentioned those people have been in office for 10, 12 years. We just had to cancel an election in February. Why? Because nobody came out in mass to primary these county supervisors.
Correct.
So the question is not, well, we need to hold them. We do need to hold them accountable, but if we want to see change, we have to offer change. We have to offer candidates to run for these positions who are going to challenge and upset the status quo and say, I'm going to run because the community wants something different. On the common council level, which I think they're speaking of, there's some people who have been in there for a long time.
Too long.
Term limits.
And what are they doing?
I'm not opposed to that.
I am all for term
I am
limits.
not opposed. Honestly,
for
I am not
term
opposed to
So
term
are you
limits.
saying- are you saying there will not be a county supervisor election in February?
There's not a primary.
Not a primary.
The primary is called.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's not
I
primary.
think our Stacy is the only one who actually is running against somebody.
Yeah.
He's the only
Yep.
one. So I'm on the election commission's advisory board. So we got an email saying that the primary for February 17th was canceled, and I was like, what?
So that means that you either have one candidate that goes all the way through to the general already, or there were no
people to
running.
primary.
And that
So
was, and
that's
that-
part of the
that election was for
problem.
April.
That was for the February
Oh, so
17th.
Right,
would
right.
have
I
been
mean,
the
no,
primary.
February,
But for the
but
April
for
election.
the April election.
But who wants to run for office though? I mean, you know what people go through. They want
I actually do.
your family, your everything. Who wants that? Do
No,
that?
Well,
right,
you
but-
know,
But it requires change, and we need to hold. If we're not going to do that,
Yeah.
then we do have to figure out a way to hold these politicians accountable.
correct.
But we can't necessarily hold them accountable if
If you don't have any
people
candidates.
don't come in and run against those people.
Correct.
And then when people come in and run against those candidates, are y'all going to show up and vote for these people?
Correct. And I think
That's a
and
problem.
that's another problem too. And I do want to pivot to that real quick because I do have an issue, not an issue, but a segment that I want. You say what? Next week? What about election? This? I still want to segue to it real quick.
Y'all got something brewing over there.
Yeah, so
I'll
it's
with you two.
we work together. But I do want to touch on that. And as you said about elections and people running, we do have an individual that was on the show with us, Stacy Smiter, who was running for county board supervisor in District 7. There was an issue brought up twice this week on WNOV, Michelle Bryant's show, on some I don't know if you will call it election paperwork that you individuals that are running has to sign. Of course, any people that don't know, when you're running for elected office, you have to get a certain amount of signatures to get on the ballot. Then you turn your paperwork in to the election commission here of the city and get that approved and whatnot, and get your name officially on the ballot. The problem that has been brought to attention is that the individual that is running for that particular seat, there was some confusion as to the name and how it was spelled. I know Stacy is Stacy Smiter, but from what it was brought up today is that a couple of the names that were on the paperwork says Stacy Smiter, and then Stacy Smiters with an S.
Oh no.
And it looks to be maybe done
Yeah.
by accident, on purpose. I really don't know because I have not talked.
They'll let them get on ballot. That's not.
What-
There've been a lot more egregious things than a misspelling of
Yeah. So, but I think
intent is there.
I think there.
You,
Yeah, and I think that is the question: is the intent? Because there were, if
Correct.
you were listening to WNOV Michelle Bryant in the mornings,
yeah,
You don't listen to her?
I mean, I'm
there-
not-
I wonder why.
there's some questions around because
She's great.
She did a deep
I
dive
love her.
into. She did a deep dive into, like, she even looked at it as like CCAP and looked at public records and stuff,
Yeah.
and saying that one name was used for certain things, another name for other things. So there's some questions that I think need to be answered, just for clarity. If it was a
Let
mistake,
the
then-
man run.
right. But if there was a mistake, allow a time to correct it and see what he has to say.
Well, he's officially on the ballot now,
Yeah.
so I don't think it's a problem of him not being able to run. He's going to run, but now there's these questions that have
Yeah.
been brought up.
And that's the lead.
Yeah,
That's
That's
the
remove him
more-
on the ballot because the candidate can challenge and say, well, this is a problem.
Yeah.
Oh, they can. Yeah.
So they can challenge signatures, they
they
can challenge
can.
paperwork, but I think at the end, the commission would probably get, I'm thinking, like we could see what the intent was, some of the
You said you
signatures,
work on the commission, correct?
right?
I'm on the advisory board.
On the advisory board. Advisory board. Okay.
So I think, in the end,
So what do you mean? How could he get around that?
so it's not getting around it. It's just the point of when the election commission looks at the paperwork,
Uh-huh.
he's going to probably have to get a lawyer.
Because you've ran
Maybe-
before, correct?
I've ran before.
Okay.
I sat in on different candidates who had challenges to signatures and who was outside of a district or an address, and so he goes before the board,
Mm-hmm.
and the board would they would weigh out the merit and the complaint, And then they have certain guidelines and they vote. Like, is this really, were people misled? And because one was an S here and the R there, is it, so I think reasonable people should be able to say, okay, there's only one candidate out here who was running against this woman or whoever he's running against.
It's one against one. It's just one
Right,
person.
it's not two Stacys who are running. They know clearly they signed.
Okay.
This is the person they signed. So it's one of those things. Let common sense rule. There's nobody trying to do anything, tomfoolery to say, he to see who he was. He's Stacey Smith, not Stacey. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good take on that. I like
That was
that.
a good take, and that's fair. But there are questions.
What just happened here?
Yeah,
We
you
just
did.
had
You
a
did.
conservative
Yeah.
that said some good things about an election. And they're not good with elections and
we
stuff. They don't like to follow
want
through on
fair
elections.
elections.
Oh, we do.
No, you don't.
We ain't gonna go into that.
You
We
actually
don't
made
go
me
into that.
see you a little different right now.
But
I
yeah,
see you in a different
Yeah.
light.
we was a conservative about
Again.
elections.
No, I think that's cool
agree
for
with you
Stacey. I think that's cool for
Yeah.
Stacey to run with that.
He just needs to clear it up.
Yeah.
Because he's in a political fight now. So
Yeah.
now he has to clear it up.
And that's the state of
own it.
politics. That's just what it is.
They got me a little dirty. I don't know where to get that dirty.
Yeah. Oh yes. Politics is nasty. Politics is nasty. It's a nasty business.
I guess
You
locally,
have-
I didn't know.
You have people
yeah.
who understand policy. Again, when I ran for office,
You went for alderman, right?
I ran for alderman, I ran for state rep, ran for state treasurer as well too.
Okay.
So when I ran for state rep,
Did you get any of it?
no, that's why I'm here. So
That's what I'm
What was
He was
that?
running. And I'm assuming this. You were running as a Republican against a Democrat.
so and I want to take the court off the timeline and the.
No, we could because we got.
No, we want to hear about you taking L's. So we do.
We done pivoted. So
My brand of policy is not one that's received well in a liberal union type area. So that's
your brand of policy.
my brand of policy.
Okay.
So therefore, I at one time I was a Democrat. Went to the Democratic Party, joined the Democratic Party.
What year was that?
It was many, many moons ago.
You're a young lad.
I was a lad. With a little bit of hair in it. No, I didn't. I had hair in it. But yeah, so when I heard the policies of the Democratic Party,
Okay.
I felt uncomfortable. It wasn't for me. And so, but my main point was this: when you said we agreed on stuff, when I ran for state rep against Dor Drake,
Okay.
Jason Fields OC, I went to the door and said, "Hey, I'm running for office. My name is so and so and so and so. Do you have a problem with schools and issues with this, that?" And they're like, "Yeah, I do. I don't like how they do that." I said, "Okay, man. Well, help me get on the ballot." And I gave them the paperwork. And as they signed the paperwork, I said, "Oh, but by the way, I'm a Republican."
No, see, that's wrong.
They were like, "Wait a minute." I said, "Well, hold on. You agree with everything I said until I said I was a Republican. So the question ain't that I'm a Republican. The question is,
You
are
ain't
a
slick,
Democrat?"
man. You ain't slick.
So they said, "You know what?" And they thought about it. So you know what? That's a great point. So they got me on the ballot.
It never voted for you.
I lost, but I mean, the point is,
He didn't get his vote.
Played in his face.
The moral of the story is this: you and I disagreed on something. So take the R and the D off.
Mhm.
You and I probably agree on a lot of things
Mhm.
because and so things become convoluted when you put a R in front of your name or a D in front of your name
Or a MAGA.
or MAGA or whatever or black.
That has a lot of
right?
sway. I'm just
So
saying.
again, the policy things that I support is like, man, that makes sense.
That-
Last week showed you that. That makes sense. I had these two bobbleheads like, yeah.
You say some stuff every once in a while. You're like,
Right.
that makes sense. It would make sense
makes
if
sense.
they
Right.
were going to go and do that. But the
Correct.
problem with
They're
that
not
is
gonna do
that
because you
they
won't be
have
saying
their
the same
trauma
things
from that
with your
experience
people
that
in here.
these people have for
Honestly, and I don't
generations
believe
seen the R beside somebody's name or D, but
That's-
in this community, the
Yeah.
R systematically take all their rights away, take all their opportunities away,
There you go.
legislative.
There
It's
you
the truth.
But
It's
that's-
the truth. The
that's-
truth is in the pudding.
I'm not just going to say I'm not going to vote for you because you're
There they
Republican.
go.
I'm not going to
There
vote for you
they
because
go.
you're Republican
Right.
because Republicans
But that's
do
the truth.
X, Y, Z.
So all the rights you were given that you said we were taking away,
Yes,
all the
we're
things,
trying to.
all the things you said you
Systematically
had,
trying to.
how has that been working out? We're talking politics right now. We're looking at results right now. How is that side that you've been supporting for many years? How's that working out? It's not, is it?
Okay, and
So
who,
you
I
talk about accountability.
can't-
I'm not
fault
going to
is
say.
that?
I'm not
No
gonna-
way.
I'm not going to
Whose
say
fault
it's
is
not
that?
working out.
What'd you say?
I'm not going to say it's not working out. Nothing is perfect.
Okay.
But I believe, again, I'll say this again. I'll say this many times on this show. I believe that the Democratic policies enhanced my life and have enhanced my family's life and and the people around me and people that look like me. And the people that and again, people that look like community. You keep saying community, which y'all don't believe in that. But those policies help people and that look like me. I get more of a chance with people like me.
It needs work. It needs work.
It needs-
Programs
everything
need
needs
work.
Everything
but
needs work.
yeah, you can't.
Nothing is perfect,
that's
but
not right.
when your party is has systematically on record going on to take these policies
Yeah.
and pull them back, and I want to take from this. Hold on a second. I want to take from this. I want to take, but you're not offering. Okay, well, I want to take this and do something. Let me put something in place then to still help, because government is about rights and resources. What rights are you making sure that people have, and what resources are you giving to
Government
people?
or politics?
Government.
Government. Okay.
It's about rights and resources.
Because I tell you, politics is about power and money.
Yes,
Yes, that is true.
that's true.
That's what it's about.
Yes.
And when you-
Politics.
when you understand that, then you understand how you will rule the day you have. Because it's about money and power. Again, Republicans don't-
Damn the will of the people though.
wouldn't say that, but it's about money and power.
But that's you say that, but then when we look at real reality,
Power to the people, man. Power
but
to the
you
people.
can't say that now with
I
power to the
speak
people,
to
but
power.
on a policy level, like you can't
It's
just
not.
say that.
We're gonna
Like,
rip- we're gonna rip things away.
Again, when you start to say ripping things away,
Yes.
so no, what we look at, and we talked about this last week, we need to find great programs that have great outcomes, and we need to fund those and duplicate those.
Yes.
Those are not those that don't work should be ripped away and torn away because they're not producing and not producing a positive outcome. So and fund the ones who actually work. Truly, let's be very, very clear. Republicans vote on safety net programs every year, every 2 years. We vote on W-2. We vote on Section 8 housing.
you know why?
We-
Because
They're low
majority of the
taxes. They're low
populations who vote for Republicans actually take advantage of those
I'm
benefits.
just saying, we vote on the
Majority.
So to say that we don't have a heart and we don't want to, we want to see people moving. We just in the opening of the show, we all agree, like, yeah, they should be better. We should do again. So what are you complaining about me for? Because I'm Republican. We want to see programs that actually work and benefit the people. To say, hey, great job. You off to the next part of your life. We
Well,
want to see that. And you all want to see that. So what's the problem here?
Well, I don't think I think you're missing the point. I'm not
I'm
complaining about
missing
you
the
being
point.
a MAGA, because it is your choice to do
I'm
that.
just-
But again, you're back in a party that has known
No,
in his
we're
own
not.
paper for taking these policies and taking them
So
away.
what policy that you believe has been taken away?
Healthcare,
So health
SNAP benefits,
So,
DEI,
DEI,
policy.
education,
So we-
women's
and
rights,
and they're coming
let's-
and they're coming for civil rights, because your
affirmative
orange
action,
Jesus said that civil rights led to white people, men particularly,
civil rights.
being
Have they trying to take away
being
civil rights?
very
The
badly
president
treated.
just said that civil rights was the greatest impediment to white people this country has ever seen. What the fuck does that
I
mean?
think he also said it was a really great piece of legislation as well too.
Wait,
Read-
I haven't
if you read the entire quote, I'm just saying, read the entire thing.
Oh, bro.
I'm just-
But we're gonna get rid of it though.
how
If it's so great, why would you get rid of it then?
What are you getting rid of?
The Civil Rights Act.
Yes,
What? No.
and the Voting Rights Act.
And the
Nobody's
Voting
trying to-
Rights
nobody's
Act.
getting rid of the Voting Act or
He
the Rights
did
Act.
Oh, they're trying. That
they're
doesn't mean they're
trying.
not gonna
So-
try. They're gonna
They're
try.
teeing up to
So-
try.
so
Now,
you-
you
They're gonna try.
Come on, man.
And guess what? They have a
Come on, man.
Supreme Court that will let it happen.
That is going to be
So when you
complicit
look
when
at
it
power
happens.
and
Yes.
resources in politics, you look at the whole thing and say, at the president's directive, I want to take this. I want to go on Venezuela, even though it's against the constitutional right to do that. Well, it's against the law to do it. Well, I don't give a damn. I'm still going to do it. And Congress is not going to stop me. And if Congress does stop me, I'm going to take it to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court's not going to stop me.
Which
So
I have
again,
them in the
you
pocket.
can't say
Correct.
that and not look at actual reality and see what's actually happening.
So Jordan, what you can't do is gaslight.
I'm not. How am I
You can't
gaslighting?
fear
Nobody
What?
gaslighting.
Like,
It's not a
gaslighting.
They're gonna play
gaslight.
this. They're gonna.
It's the truth.
No one.
They're on camera saying these things, sir. They're on camera saying these things.
Again, this is gaslighting.
Just like they
In
did.
the
They,
executive order,
just
they're
like they
saying these
said,
things.
they weren't
They
going to
gonna
do
take it
Project
away.
2025. They weren't going to
And they
disregard the
checking the list
Department
on
of
all of it.
Education.
I agree with a lot of things in Project 2025.
But
Oh,
also,
but when they
supported- they
ran,
also supported Agenda 47, which was Donald Trump's actual platform.
which was Project
Which was
25,
probably
summarized.
25.2.
Again,
Yeah.
Maybe great
Again.
minds think alike. I don't know.
I just
But
I just
again,
think that it's
Because-
broader
because-
than
because
that.
On your liberal
Yes.
side, you guys have an agenda as well too. So
Yeah,
let's-
of
absolutely,
course,
right?
yeah.
So
Yes.
let's be clear.
About rights.
Let's whatever you want
and
to call
resources.
it, whatever you want to call it, you guys have an agenda to trans and to bring
No,
all
no,
here we go. We're not
here we go,
talking.
here we go.
We're
I
not
love
doing
it.
that
these
today.
things.
No,
We're
we
not
know.
doing that
We're not
today.
doing that, bro.
to have
Bro,
late-term abortion.
no,
to do it
sir,
all.
sir.
So again, I'm just saying, brother.
Orlando.
If we gonna
Come
talk
on, y'all.
about it,
Y'all got to
let's talk
stop.
about it.
You got to stop doing that, man. Whenever y'all lose a point, y'all, I don't know what it is. Y'all have a hard on for LGBTQ rights and trans.
It's
That's,
really-
that's the first thing y'all go to when you're losing your point is, well, y'all want to back trans and y'all want to back
I'm
LGBT.
just
These
saying-
are, hold on, sir. These are American people that have the right to believe and live how they want to.
These are
Leave them
children-
alone.
These are children
But
that you want to control the ability of the parents. I'm just saying, like you just said, it's on paper. You
Okay.
guys want to do these things. You guys are doing these
So,
things.
okay,
So
fine.
again, so
give
we
him
get back
the
on track.
trans
I'm just
issue.
letting you know,
Fine.
Yeah, because they-
you're doing this.
Okay,
They
Orlando.
love in healthcare. You said the healthcare,
Okay,
right?
yeah.
We
Let's
need
go
to
there
fix
real quick.
healthcare. We need to fix healthcare.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think the Republicans, as we saw 2 weeks ago, it passed the House.
My healthcare went
that
up.
we went and started the idea of pools. People are being able to pool together to get policies and plans. I think that's going to be high risk pools will be good.
High risk
I-
pools were in Obamacare.
Again, but all the other
All you're
things
doing
are-
is taking something that was
all
already
the-
there.
already there and spinning
Again,
it.
that's
and
it.
saying
if this
something
piece,
Where's your
if
particular
this
plan?
piece- if this piece is a good piece, pull the good piece out and trash the rest. Does that make sense, Jordan?
But you can't just
You can't
take
the good out of
one piece
Obamacare.
out of a 100-piece
You can.
puzzle
What I'm saying-
and say this one
No,
piece
no,
works.
that's
That's
not what I'm
all
saying.
we're
That's
gonna
not-
do.
That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is this: were there anything? What part of Obamacare was good? If you find a good piece, pull it out and put it into the part that we're working over here. Let the rest of that thing burn, but pull out this piece, which is the high risk pool. Pull it out. That makes
Okay,
sense.
you can't. But again, you can't let
You
the shit
can.
burn when you have millions of people whose life depends on it.
So-
in the
20 something
country.
million, 40
So if
something
you're going
million
to propose
and
something,
then-
propose a
let's
whole
be clear.
comprehensive
Let's
plan
be
and say
clear.
this is what we're
Yes,
going
it's
to
a
do.
whole plan.
The subsidies are still there. Let's be very, very clear.
Why is the subsidy still there? Let's talk about that
So
then.
the subsidies, what we're actually debating over, was the expansion during COVID.
Sure.
This is
Okay.
what you guys.
Sure, but y'all didn't want the expansion.
You want to fear
No,
monger.
No,
not fear mongering.
you didn't
It's
want the
telling the truth
expansion.
of what you guys are
let's be
doing.
clear, let's be
It's not
clear.
fear
You
mongering.
didn't want the
The
expansion,
subsidies that are being debated right now
right?
are the subsidies that came
In
through
the
COVID,
house. Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And those subsidies raise the income guideline to get more people in who actually could afford their own health care themselves.
Okay, that needs to be
The
addressed.
low-income folk, people near poverty, those subsidies were never included.
Sure, that needs to be addressed.
So again,
That doesn't mean
let's be
that doesn't mean
transparent.
you take the
Let's
whole
be
bill and
transparent.
swipe it out because
Let's
that
be-
one piece of it doesn't
So
need
let's
to be addressed.
transparent. You are mad. You're fighting for people who actually can afford.
No,
health care.
we're
No,
no.
that's what
Again,
you're doing.
you're taking
No, that's-
one piece of a
I'm just saying,
comprehensive,
that's what the subsidies-
bipartisan
That's
bill.
what the subsidies are really about.
Okay.
It's about the expansion of the subsidies during COVID. for
Okay,
people with-
so then, why now did those 17 Republicans vote to extend those subsidies?
I think part of it is that again, some of these people might be up for re-election. I don't know.
No, because they're
They-
communities
they-
who
they
voted for
voted.
them, who take advantage of
Again,
those, and who
again.
depend on that healthcare
So, no,
system,
it's-
or
it
they
hit
will
their pocket.
die.
It hit their pocket.
Or they
We're
would die.
Those constituents.
So again, let's be clear, Jordan. The debate of the subsidies are not for the low income. That is not the debate we're having. The debate for the subsidy are for the people who could actually, when we expanded it, doing
I'm not
those are the people.
sure,
who debating with.
Orlando. I'm agreeing with you. If that's the piece of the legislation that needs to be addressed and debated
These
on,
folks-
then let's
these
debate on that
folks-
issue. Let's
these
debate on
folks-
that issue.
And those folks can actually pay for their health care.
We're okay.
So why are we?
I
paying
agree
for
with you.
people-
I agree
why
with you,
are we
Orlando.
paying-
I agree with you,
why
Orlando.
why
I
we
agree with you,
paying-
Orlando.
So why are we paying for people who actually can afford it? Well, in fact, we can use those funds to actually increase or bolster the
Okay.
system we have for the poor
So
people.
so again,
So
those
again, it makes
those
no sense.
those 8% of the people who can't afford it, we need to address. Now, can we talk about the 92 people who can't afford it?
Those subsidies for the poor, George. was
Can we
never
talk
debated.
about the rest
They
of the
were
people who
already
can't?
there. That was already there.
But
We're
they're
talking about
there.
subsidies.
But then there was a bill that was passed to take them away,
There's no bill. They expired. Let's be clear, Jordan. They expired.
and there was a bill
And
that
never-
went into
and we did not
react
move-
them.
We did not move to extend it. Those subsidies were agreed upon by both Republican and Democrat.
Yes.
To expire at a
Yeah.
certain date.
Absolutely, we're not,
Yes,
we're not
and that
disagreeing
they
there.
We're not.
Right?
And we're out of COVID,
Mhm.
and folk, can afford to pay for their own health care.
Those people
would
can
rather-
afford to.
I would rather see monies and subsidies for people and to have even a better system for the poor.
I
Instead of trying to give money and we fight over people who can actually pay for their health care.
okay. I'm agreeing with your point. That piece needs to be addressed.
Okay.
Okay, but in the
The whole bill
meantime,
is
you
not
can't
perfect.
scrap the whole bill just
Well, you
because
can't- you-
that piece of it
that
is not
affects-
there.
that-
Again,
but then that
you
affects
continue to say
millions of
scrapping the
people.
whole bill.
But you are.
The subsidies for the poor are still there. They're still there. They're still there, Jordan.
They would not be there unless it was voted on.
Jordan. the subsidies that we're debating are the extension.
Right.
That's
If the extension wasn't put in place, would they be there?
Jordan. The subsidies for the poor
Would the-
are still there.
Would the
still there.
extension of those subsidies be there if that bill wasn't extended? Am I?
Again,
Would the
Say it again.
subsidies still be there if the bill that you're talking about was not extended? Would they still be there?
So the subsidies for the poor are still there, Jordan. The subsidies that we're debating are those extra subsidies that we put in
No.
during COVID. Yes,
No,
that's what
those subsidies
that's-
don't just extend to
We're just-
that
that's
percent
the
of
debate.
people that are higher
Jordan,
income who can afford it.
That's
No, no,
exactly
no.
what we're talking about. That's
No, no,
exactly
no.
what we're talking about. That's exactly
That's
we're
what
talking
you're talking about. You're talking about a
All right.
piece of the overall part. I'm talking about the whole bill.
Again, the poor, the subsidies for the poor
Mhm.
are still there, Jordan.
Okay.
For now.
Okay, okay, for now. Okay, for now, they're still there.
Yeah.
So what are we debating? We're debating over
you're
we're debating
deb-
over subsidies for people who can afford it. That's what you're
No, that's
we
not.
need to have.
No.
That's exactly what the Democrats are fighting over.
To
keep those.
all I know is that
those subsidies through COVID.
millions of people who can't afford it, their rates premiums have skyrocketed.
Correct.
So here's what.
That's the fight.
That's what
For
I'm.
the
That's what we're
lesser
talking
man.
about.
So
That's
here's
the
the ugly
fight.
truth. Here's the ugly truth.
What's the other truth?
Obamacare is not affordable. It's not Affordable Care Act.
Why
And
again?
because
We had this conversation.
without the
Why
subsidies,
is the Affordable Care Health affordable?
it's not affordable because as you saw,
Why?
as you said,
Why?
your premiums went up because when you
Why?
really saw the true cost of healthcare
Why?
without the subsidies, that's the problem. Let's address the actual problem, which is the
Right.
cost of healthcare from the big pharmaceuticals to the big hospitals.
Mhm.
Let's really control and say, well, you want to have rent control, you should have price control in the hospital.
Sure. That's
I agree to that.
Oh,
I agree with that. But
I agree with
you're still not addressing the piece of why the Affordable Care Healthcare bill is not affordable.
So it's not affordable because of the case. You need to have, like in any insurance, you need to have a high level of healthy people
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
paying for the people who are sick. It's not affordable. You couldn't keep your doctor and keep your health care plan.
No, that's not why.
You force
Yeah.
people. You force
That's
people
not
to buy. Hold on, Jordan. Hold
That's
on.
not
Jordan.
why, though.
Jordan. Hold on. Hold your heels, man. Let's flip together. Hold your heels down. You asked why Obamacare is not working.
Now,
Obamacare has never worked. It only worked because of that, because of the subsidies, my friend. And the subsidies are only there because of the fact of the matter is this: you still drove up the cost of healthcare because now you can really see on your new premium that came out. You now see like, man, how in the world am I going to pay for this? That's what you should be concerned about. Like, why is that number so high?
yeah, I agree with you. It's high.
Take subsidies away from it and say, just look at the.
Well,
Walmart,
subsidies
like,
are not the only
take
problem in the
those-
healthcare thing.
Jordan, I'm not disagreeing there. There's tons of problems with healthcare. So let's address healthcare and why the cost is so high. And instead of saying putting a band-aid on it, well, this is raise taxes, it creates subsidies because we can't control the cost anyways. It's going up, so we just might as well let's pay for it. Like, no,
but that's not what happened. That's
let's
not what
fix it. Let's fix the cost of healthcare.
There has been bill upon bill to legislatively on a local level and on a federal level to improve and to fix the issues in Obamacare. And at every turn,
stop trying
every
to fix
turn-
Obamacare and fix healthcare. How about that?
that is fixing
No, it's
healthcare.
not. The Obamacare is only
All
good
right, fuck
by the
it. Just
subsidies, my
get
friend.
rid of healthcare. Cause okay, fine. I'm gonna give you the point because it's what. So just get rid of it all then.
and create a new program.
But you had 20
Let's look
years
at-
to come
let's
up with a
look
new
at-
program,
Now, that I agree
and
with
we're
you. I'm not
2026 and there's
gonna-
no
I'm not gonna go
program.
there.
And in the meantime, people are dying.
Okay, here we go.
That's the
But
reality.
that's the problem.
People
though.
are
That's the-
dying in the street. Here we go.
People are.
Americans
They
are-
will.
And they will.
People die every day, B. What are you talking about?
No, but you don't.
People are dying.
I can't.
What do you
So-
mean, man? What
so
do you mean? do you
healthcare is
People have
expensive.
healthcare. What do you mean? So again, let's get to the root cause.
Root
Let's
cause.
figure out what's really going on with healthcare instead of trying to say, let's fix Obamacare. Obamacare is not fixable. What needs to be fixed is the actual care itself.
Okay.
Why is it so expensive?
Okay.
Why do I have to pay this amount of, why can I buy insurance across
The-
state lines?
The funny
Why do I
thing.
have to have
The funny thing is, you could have bought insurance across state lines in the market, but that is something that at the time, again, someone who worked in this, the Republicans pushed back on making that acceptable.
One of the big plans we had was letting people buy insurance cross party.
You should be okay. And why don't we have that?
To have people pool.
The funny thing about
we
this,
lost the election. And
okay,
Obama
because we
came
lost
in-
the election.
Obama came in and said, "No, this is what we're doing."
Because we lost the election and the Republican Party came in and took all those different things that could fix
lost
it
the
away.
election and Obamacare came in. That's why Obama won the election. And
Obama
and
won
they-
two
they had
elections.
the
He won
What
two
are you
elections,
talking
and
about?
he ran on
What
healthcare
I'm
though.
saying, he ran the election that Obamacare came in. They won the election, Jordan, and that's what happened.
Yes.
Obamacare came in. He said, "This is how he's going to fix healthcare by
Yes.
making subsidies."
Yes.
And that's not fixing healthcare.
That's not how he didn't say by just fixing subsidies. That's not at all what he
That's not
said. That
fixing-
was a
that's not-
byproduct of it. And that was the one leverage after COVID. To your point, Obamacare had been in place for 6 years to that point.
No.
It had.
Okay, so real quick. So from the National Association of Counties.org, I got this. It says that January 8th, the U.S. House of Representatives passed legislation to extend enhanced Affordable Care Act premium tax credits
Enhance what?
for enhanced Affordable
Thank you.
Care Act
Enhance.
premium tax credits for 3
Thank
years,
you.
sending the measure to the Senate as lawmakers work to negotiate a bipartisan, bicameral compromise. The bill passed on a 230-196 vote with bipartisan support to advance a clean extension of the subsidies that expired at the end of last year.
In the House.
The House vote follows months of debate over the future of the enhanced subsidies, which
Enhance
were
subsidies.
first established during the COVID-19 pandemic
Exactly.
and help lower monthly premiums for millions of individuals purchasing coverage through the ACA marketplaces.
Right.
Supporters of the House bill argue that extending the credits would help stabilize insurance markets and prevent significant premium increases in 2026.
Sure will.
Critics, including Republican leaders, have raised concerns about program integrity costs and the need for eligibility reforms, while the House passed measure is unlikely to move forward unchanged in the Senate. It is widely viewed as a signal to encourage negotiation.
So the big takeaway I hear there, and this is what I'm talking about to Jordan and you, Mr. Host. You kind of skip over the word enhance. That's exactly what I told you. These are enhanced COVID-19 subsidies. You both kept saying, "Oh no, stop! No, stop! No!" It tells you right there in what you read. The enhanced subsidies that were passed during COVID. I just said it, and you read it.
Cost of living has decreased or increased since COVID.
Cost of living always going up.
Okay. Has wages grown or remained stagnant since COVID?
I think wages are.
So then affordability,
Can I-
the people
can I-
are saying they still can't afford
Can I answer
healthcare.
the question?
So it doesn't matter if the enhancement is or not. People still need the
Can I
enhancement.
answer the question.
What's the question?
So wages have gone up for some individuals.
I don't want to hear about some individuals. I'm looking at
Okay,
data
broad-
across the
again,
board.
broad
Wages have
picture.
not been going up.
So go back to the premise of the question on how we got here, Jordan. You both are trying to, as you call it, deflect.
We're not deflecting.
We're not deflecting.
Which was again
Coming from a person
And
who's the
again-
king of
and
deflection.
And again, you're
word-
taking this one issue in a vacuum, disregarding that there was a big, beautiful bill that decimated the
Yes.
other pieces of healthcare,
Correct.
and then there was a
Right.
whole
it raised the
shut
question of
down.
accountability.
So this piece of legislation right here and now, you're making it seem like that's the whole healthcare fight when it's
changed-
not.
It changed the eligibility. It changed the requirements.
It's not. That's
to
not.
stop
You're talking about
illegals,
one
to
piece
stop
of a
illegals
healthcare
from
bill.
getting healthcare benefits, from stopping, stop people who are dead from getting healthcare. So it did start to clean up some of the problems with healthcare as far as the eligibility piece. It didn't do a lot with the price of healthcare.
Okay.
But again, let's be clear.
Well,
what
we
we're
will
talking about
see
here-
once the Senate does not pass this bill, and we'll see what
It may or
happens
may not-
in the
I
next
don't know. I
election.
don't know. You said you got
So we'll see.
17.
We'll
You got
see.
17
In the House.
Republicans in the House ran. They may be up for re-election. They may be feeling the
Okay.
pressure to say, let's get something done.
I'm at the point. I'm at the point now because I just want to see as a social experiment, and we're seeing it now.
Yes.
I think that we should just roll the dice and let's just see what's going to happen, and then when the world is burning in 2 years, then we can see. I told you so across the board, and that's literally where I am now because I can't with good conscience continue to argue and debate with people who are disregarding facts and history and legislation and saying something that someone who is learned and astute about this is saying otherwise. Like
So,
it doesn't make
I
sense
just-
to me.
I just ended I won't end it, but I just say, was there healthcare before Obamacare?
There was not.
It was healthcare. People had healthcare before.
They did, but there
Yeah,
was.
yeah,
But,
they did.
but why was there a
So
need for
again-
healthcare?
but the-
So again, to flame and stoke the
There's
flames
no
of-
flaming and
It's
stoking.
going to be revelation.
If you
People
wanna-
gonna be out in the street
if you
because
wanna go
they
back
won't-
there-
wait, they won't have no healthcare. So we had healthcare.
Why-
before Obamacare.
So why that we had
Why
healthcare
the
before
bill?
Obamacare? So why was Obama's largest political capital around healthcare passing a healthcare bill?
Yeah, that was a dummy move.
But that
I
you
think-
answered the
I think
question.
he should've did,
You're saying we're going to go
reform.
back to a
Citizen
system
reform.
that was worse than
Citizen
it was
reform.
today, and you
Citizen
had
reform.
something in there.
Judicial reform.
There was judicial reform.
I think, and I think he did a disservice. to
We're
black
talking in
people.
circles now.
Yeah, he,
So-
right.
He did a
That's
disservice.
that's what they do.
I'm,
But
just, I'm just saying.
It was created because 50 million people in the U.S. were uninsured. They worked full time, but their jobs didn't offer insurance, and insurance was too expensive, or they were denied.
Yeah.
So the same thing. We need to fix healthcare. Don't fix Obama.
But you said I'm
Obamacare.
talking about prior to.
So prior to that, you had people like myself who had, the healthcare that I wanted. I'm not going to deny because this is a story that always is never ending. The cost of healthcare. Healthcare cost was a problem. You had people. We also had a system that people who did not have children could not qualify for healthcare. People who had pre-existing conditions were tough to find healthcare. So that
Or
needed
could
to
not.
change. But the fix wasn't Obamacare by creating subsidies. Because as we see now, the cost of healthcare never changed. It's still going up to the very things you're saying. The only thing that changed was everybody can now get this healthcare plan because the states also had a policy. Now, what should have changed was, the people who had no children, we definitely should have addressed that. People who had pre-existing healthcare conditions, we definitely should address that.
How do we address that?
Again, not through Obamacare. But
No, okay,
But
fine.
there
I'm
was
asking you, how do you
nothing-
address
yeah,
that?
There was nothing.
How do you
huge
address that?
problem.
So
And he
maybe
listen. So he created something.
I want him to answer a question because how do you
Because
address the people without the kids having assurance?
So we expand Badger Care.
You expand Medicare. I remember a Governor Walker who said during 2 terms that he wasn't going to expand health Badger care.
Well, we'll take the federal money because again, once the federal
why is that?
hold on, because once the federal money pulled back, because you can't rely on.
But you just said expand Badger
$60
care.
million
from the state level. From the
that
state
the
level.
state pushed
Yeah,
back
state
and
level.
gave back to the federal government.
We take care
$60
of-
million.
Let's address Badger Care here with state funds and not federal funds.
Okay, sure. Okay.
And that did
you
what?
still didn't expand Badger care, which left those
What did that do?
which left those people
Again,
out of health care.
again,
Correct. What did that do?
Again,
Rejecting that money. What did that do?
Again, the reason why you reject the money is because you cannot budget for something that may or may not be there every year. So when you take the federal money, you also open up the responsibility of all the bells and whistles that came to federal money. Your state healthcare plan had to have all these other qualifiers that drove up the cost for state run healthcare. Because
Why did it drive up the cost?
because all the bells and whistles that Obamacare.
No. You know why it drove the cost?
No, sir, that's
To
false.
answer
That
your
is true.
question around how do you get those people who without kids to
I think we should open up to them.
we should open up to them. I believe that
Only
there
with
was
state funds, not federal funds.
okay, sure, but how do you force then those people to get into and take advantage of that?
We force them to.
How do you mandate that those people get into an insurance market that's going to do that?
First of all, I don't think you should mandate people.
But
get
so
it.
then, okay,
You
let's
should-
take the word mandate. How do you
No, I
encourage
think-
people to do
I
that?
think you did the right word because you force people who do not want to have health care or have their.
But you just said we need to have those people in healthcare to
Again,
reduce
no,
the cost.
What I'm
Though.
saying to you is this: there was a problem with people who wanted health care and couldn't get it. You just said, how do you mandate it? That's part of the problem right there. You should not mandate people if they don't want to have health care. They should. When I was in my 20s, I didn't have it. It was my choice.
But you think you should have had healthcare
No,
though? You should-
no, I don't.
Okay.
I think I paid for what I needed.
The
And
problem.
that's what I wanted.
the
I didn't
problem
want- I didn't
still
want-
is-
So again,
the problem still
hold
is-
on, Jordan. What you're doing again is you're thinking for the people because you know best.
I'm not thinking
You-
for
yes,
don't
you
put.
are.
I'm not
You
thinking
know
best for
best.
people. I
You
know the law.
You know best.
So
You
I
know-
can
you know
explain
best.
articulately what
Hold
the
on,
actual
hold
law
on,
in
hold
the
on,
in the
hold
legislation
on,
says.
hold
The
on.
Affordable Care Act.
Because you know why?
Why?
It became a law because Obama made it a law. Before
No,
it wasn't-
Obama
you
didn't.
you
Obama
you
didn't make it a
you
law.
mandated
There was
it.
a bipartisan
You
bill
mandated it.
that
Correct.
took a
You mandated
conservative bill from Massachusetts that
You
they
mandated it.
negotiated and
You
agreed
mandated
upon
it.
in the legislature because an executive branch, to your part earlier, can't create a law.
Again,
Correct.
the
They didn't
mandate-
create
They can't create a law. Obama can't create a law.
He by the United
He
States
signed
Supreme
it
Court.
into
Okay, now he
It
signed it into
wasn't-
law.
so again, it
Yes, he
wasn't-
signed it as law
again,
because
it was not-
the House
it was not
and the
supported
Senate
by-
passed it.
That
What happened was
legislation went
what
through the
happened-
House bipartisan
what happened
level
was-
and then the
Correct.
Senate
What happened-
bipartisan
correct.
level.
what
Correct.
happened was this.
Thank you, Jordan.
The Supreme Court gave Obama the ability to do what he did, was called a tax. They didn't even call it healthcare. They called it a tax.
Sure, that's
So the Supreme
fine.
Court said he does have a right to set a tax. It wasn't even defined as healthcare. It was a tax.
We talked about this
tax
before.
people-
Yes,
right,
we talked about
tax
this before.
people to make them get healthcare, even if they didn't want to do it. You
Okay.
force them again. So you don't do it. We're going to make you pay for it anyway, because you all know best.
No, nobody knows.
That's the funkiness of the liberal and the progressive.
The liberal
You know
and
that's-
progressive that wants to do everything in their power to ensure that people who have access to
You know
life-saving
what's best.
measures.
You know what's best. I shouldn't have to get when I was in my early 20s. Well, I was in my mid 30s. Whatever.
Here we
right?
go.
I shouldn't have to get.
So you know what's best. So you just say everybody they don't need anything, then. And you can't even have access to
I
it.
believe people should make grown people decisions, Jordan.
Okay.
And you
But
should
they
make
didn't
them
have the
do it.
means.
Excuse me.
They didn't have the means.
So
to
what
make that
if you
decision.
make yeah?
So if I don't want to have healthcare, I should.
If you don't want to, but what if you do want to have healthcare, you don't have access to it?
Huh?
What if you want to have healthcare and you don't have access to it?
I don't know what you mean by having.
No, you just said you didn't want it because you made a grown man decision not to have healthcare. Jordan would like to be 20 years old and have healthcare, but I don't have a job to afford that, so I need to have a mechanism or an opportunity to get that. How am I supposed to get healthcare?
Well, again, you should be able to qualify for state healthcare if you don't got no kids.
But you're saying that we should take that funding and resources away from
No, I didn't
supporting
say it
those
all. I
things.
said it all. I said it should be state. That's what I
It should
said.
be state routed.
Ran.
Oh, ran. State ran. Okay.
Because the federal money came with like all money does because there's strings attached to it. Like you have to do this, you have to do that. Let the states run.
The
This
state has better care. They are running it.
this research said that was a terrible idea, and that we are now as a state in
I don't care what Brock says.
in debt because of not doing that. Like,
Because they didn't expand
Yeah,
it
it
to
said
take
it-
advantage of
that's-
those
that's what the
federal
research-
resources to come
And the
in.
federal money that was coming to us,
it said we
I'll
lost
never
out on
forget that.
billions of
It's the
dollars.
same with
that could have helped
education.
us.
Like you
when we got that money here, Ohio said, "Hey," Ohio said, "We'll take it,"
Sure
and
you
Ohio
did.
took our money.
Yeah.
And again, this goes back to the very foundational argument of what is the role of the federal government and the state government? We believe as conservatives that the biggest government should be local government and not the federal
You
government.
said the biggest government should be local.
Exactly. And not the federal government.
But it says that he didn't have a plan. He just refused
There
it
is
with
no
no
plan.
plan.
There's never.
There's not a
Well,
plan
Well,
now.
Walker started.
There's no
So he,
plan
when
now.
he refused that money, it said it took us downhill. So he was concerned. He said he was concerned about it being left on the taxpayers.
Again,
But
So, again,
he didn't have a
nothing to replace.
plan. He just refused the money,
There's no
and
plan.
that was it.
Again, you also combat that by this, by getting people working. A single man with no children can get insurance on his job. And that's the other
No,
part of this. Again,
that's not what
it's
we
saying-
They weren't offering it.
no, then you need to change your job.
You need to change your
That
job.
wasn't that easy.
Yeah,
Well,
you
you gotta
need to
be-
change
That
your
you
job.
working where you can
And
work.
and you can buy it on the private market yourself too. You
Oh,
can-
but it's
Wait, you-
$8,000 a month to do
again.
so.
Hold
Right.
on.
So you keep
You-
saying this
Yeah,
stuff.
you talking
It's
in
like-
You can buy insurance yourself. If your company didn't offer it, use your paycheck to go buy your private plan. You
Okay.
can do that.
Okay. What about?
Okay, so we going in circles.
Yeah.
I'm
Again.
just-
I'm gonna cut the conversation right here.
I'm just saying.
But you know what? I'm glad we had
But-
that conversation because
yes.
they better understand why the healthcare
Yeah.
is
I mean,
damaged like it is. You just helped make that point because you're talking in circles.
I'm not talking to circles. You might not
They didn't have the money. They didn't have the money to pay for that healthcare you're talking about.
Again.
You know that.
The private individual whose company didn't offer health care, you can buy your own private health care if you chose to, even though your company didn't offer it.
They couldn't afford
That's the
couldn't
problem.
afford it? Who couldn't afford
the
it?
people
Well,
working.
55 million people
that-
couldn't afford
50,
it.
Right.
50 million people.
Again, if we want to talk about the cost of health care,
Okay.
that's the bigger issue.
The-
That's the bigger
the-
issue.
The
That's
problem,
what the
that's the
bill
issue.
addressed.
No, your bill did not. Your bill created taxation, a subsidy. We never talk about the real cost. What you're getting in your mail now
Mhm.
is the real cost of the Affordable Care Act. Like, this is really expensive. Why don't we attack that by not trying to create more subsidies, especially for people who can afford their own insurance? We're going to pay for them.
How do you fix that then? Tell me.
Well, they need to be paying for themselves. First of all, they
Who,
need
who needs to be paying for themselves?
the COVID extended subsidies.
Take it COVID out. Sure.
That's
What's
the-
the
that's the-
solution
That's the
from?
big argument.
What's the solution?
the solution for healthcare?
Sure. To make it more affordable.
I think there's a couple different things you can do with,
Okay.
with healthcare to control some of the costs. I think you should cap certain things. I think prices should be transparent. How much you charge me for, MRI?
Affordable Care Act said that you had to make those prices
Again, I think there's a lot you can do around that. You can do a lot around pharmaceuticals.
all the things that
Also,
you are about to prescribe as solutions were
No.
things that were
Tell-
already in
There was a
place.
cap on.
Again,
There was a cap on
again,
pharmacy.
if it was
prescribed
there, if it was
medications,
there, tell
There
me
was a
why-
cap on all of
Then
that.
tell me then why, if all that's already there, Jen Jordan, why isn't the cost of healthcare going down then? If it's all already in there,
Just like the price of groceries is not going down,
bro.
just like the housing
You're
cost is
saying-
not going
you're saying
down.
that your subsidy plan addresses the cost of healthcare.
But you
Does it-
can't-
does it do that? Does it do
Again,
that?
you are
does it fix the cost of healthcare, Jordan?
currently what
The subsidies, does Obamacare actually fix the cost of healthcare?
no, I'm not
Okay,
saying that I'm not
So
saying
So if
that they
there,
fix
no,
the
so
price
here,
of
hear me
healthcare.
out.
I'm
If
not
there was
saying that.
nothing, if there was nothing in place, right? 50 million people went uninsured, right? 50 million. It
Okay.
says that people that they all were uninsured. There was nothing there. They created this. Hey, take this. We'll help everybody do this. The question is, why do you feel like it needed to be perfect and it can't be tweaked at some point?
So again, because it never addressed the truth. So
Why do we have to get rid of it in its entirety?
He still
because
hasn't
it's not
addressed the
perfect?
cost
So
of
when you said
healthcare.
Correct.
When you said 50 million people,
The
when I-
concept of
when
the
I-
plan
when I-
did.
when I-
Right, they were uninsured.
You
when
still haven't given
when you
me.
initially read, you said
They
some
won't.
people's job didn't offer healthcare.
No, I said I gave you 4 different reasons why it was in
Some
place.
people said they jobs didn't offer, right?
They work full time. Their jobs didn't offer it at all.
So that person should be able to buy private insurance, right? Again, the question goes to the bigger issue is this: is there a problem with people with no children getting healthcare? They didn't qualify for it. So we should fix that. We should fix it. Say, okay, people with no children and they're working, they should be. Let's say.
Wait, but let's talk about the private part. You just said they could not afford that. That was
So,
it
again,
wasn't cost effective.
again,
So
so-
stay there.
so-
Stay there
so-
though. You're
so-
saying that like private insurance is so easy to get.
So
And it's
to
not.
that point, that private insurance is really showing up again on it because the true cost. Obama never fixed the cost. It never fixed the cost. Georgia just said it never fixed the cost. It found a way to pay for it, but it never fixed the cost. And that's what we're having a debate on fundamentally.
How
we never
do you
addressed
fix
it.
the cost?
But then how do you?
Again, I think some of the things that I've said already, having more transparency in the billing,
But we've
having
had
caps on some of the billing, because again, if Obamacare actually worked, why is the cost still? Because the real cost people are saying now.
Mhm.
That's what you're getting now. Like, oh, without the subsidy, this stuff is how much?
yes. So what's your again?
So the
What's your
plans
plan
were
for
during that
addressing
time.
the cost?
During that time, the plans that you're speaking of, the private, were $400 to $1,000 per month per person.
That's affordable.
I never said healthcare was affordable. What I did say is this: healthcare, the cost itself is a problem, and we need to address it.
No.
Yes.
When Skywalker were doing that, that's what people were up
And-
against. And the cheaper plans didn't cover hospital care, prescriptions, maternity, or mental
And
health.
we also couldn't buy insurance across lines either, across state party lines.
That was in the original
You
bill.
had to-
Thank you very much.
You had to- that-
No
that-
pre-existing conditions. We're talking about asthma,
Yeah,
high
yeah,
blood
yeah.
pressure.
So again,
It didn't include any of that.
Again, we never fixed that though, my friend.
Why didn't we
We
fix
didn't
it?
fix it. Obamacare did not fix that.
Affordable health care
We
did
still-
make sure that
Affordable
that-
health care
yes, it
absolutely included
did.
all of
It
that.
definitely
What I'm
covered all
saying
of
to
that.
you, when the biggest issue was the cost of healthcare, right? You said also access. I'm already conceding that people who don't have children should be able to get healthcare. I'm conceding that. I think people who have pre-existing conditions should get that. But you don't throw away the entire system.
But you're trying to throw away the entire.
That's what's gotta be done, though.
No,
That's what
no,
you're
no,
doing.
No, you don't throw away the entire system of healthcare and the freedom of healthcare to address those who population.
I'm glad we agree.
Like if I
Okay,
don't want to have
free.
He just,
healthcare,
he just
I
talked
don't have
himself
to get
into a
healthcare.
circle all the way around
did.
to the point we're making. Like
So
That's what we were
I
saying.
should be
What
able
you just said. What
I
you just
should be
said.
able not to have healthcare if I choose to. Do I have that option right now?
you do.
No, you don't. No, you get taxed.
No, you don't.
Taxed. You get taxed.
You don't
for not
get
having
taxed.
healthcare.
You don't get
taxed.
taxed.
You get taxed. That's what Obamacare made it a penalty for not having healthcare.
No, they took down those
They
penalties.
took that out.
The
though.
Supreme Court took off those penalties. Yes,
No.
they did, man. I followed
No,
that extensively.
that is-
I'm telling you what happened.
Brother.
When it went to the Supreme Court, they took off those.
You just said that it was a tax.
So
was a
the
tax.
fight was this, Jordan.
And we're
was
not
that
talking about this. We're talking about
then,
the-
right? The fight
Yeah.
then was saying,
in
how
the,
can
in
you make me
the, in the
do
Supreme
this?
because it was
The
a tax.
Exactly.
Right.
So therefore, so therefore, I had to get
And the
it.
Supreme
Or
Court
pay the
said
fine.
that you
You
cannot
can't do that.
tax.
Correct.
They
They
gave,
did.
they gave the ability to do that.
No, they
They
didn't.
won. You just said they won in the Supreme Court.
Yes, they upheld it, but they also put out. They made sure that
They said
that
we
part
couldn't
on there.
do
You cannot do that.
Stop.
Go back and read it,
We
brother.
won't have to go back and read.
Go back and read it.
I
Man.
know
I
right
know
now.
what they did.
Right now, you got to have health care. You can't walk around with no health care.
No, you can absolutely walk around here without any health care.
Yeah, you can because
You
you got people
can.
that do it.
There's a lot of people
Yeah,
who are
people that
walking
do it
around
right
without
now.
healthcare right now.
Somebody said dying because you can't afford health care, and
Hold
being
on.
summarizing people die every day.
So you tell
Like,
Because they
yeah,
can't
that's what
afford the health
so,
care.
They can't
so you
afford
said people right now.
Yes.
Stop it, Jordan. Stop it, Jordan. We'll move on. But I know this is a fact. You cannot. You have to have health care.
No, you don't have to have health care. You do not have to have health
You have
care.
people that I'm telling you, I know several
you
people
don't have to have
that
health
don't
care.
have it.
No, it was so it says there was a penalty in 2014. It would be $95 per adult or 1% of the household income.
Mhm.
2015, $325 per adult or 2% of your income. 2016 to 2018, it increased $695 per adult. But it also said that most people weren't taxed for it, and it wasn't a criminal penalty. And it says that there was no jail time or anything. There was no garnishments, none of that. And then right now,
So how do we know that?
starting in
Nobody's been
2017,
taxed like that.
they completely just eliminated the whole thought of
Because
that
that was a
process.
part of.
Hold on. How do we know that?
He
Because
said
we-
that you
in
made that
time-
point earlier.
You said
You
in
made
that
that
time,
point
in the
earlier.
time, we had to pay the penalties. As you just said, it was for 3 years or maybe 4 years. People having to say, well, are they going to enforce the penalty or are they not going to enforce the penalty? And so right now,
That was the.
From my understanding, those penalties weren't enforced.
well, she just said, I guess they wasn't enforcing them.
Look
but the
here,
penalty was there.
We
right?
are again.
So again,
it's-
we are here
We go
at
on
this point.
hamster wheel.
I'm just saying.
That,
I'm just
you
saying.
know,
I'm just saying.
Nigga loves to go.
Obamacare never fixed. That's the rut of the debate. Healthcare is still too expensive, and Obamacare did not fix that.
And
So
It gave
what is the
people-
Republican
What
plan?
is the
It gave
solution?
people-
What is the Republican
So
plan?
it
Is in
does say
power.
millions. So when it first rolled out, it says I went to search further. So it says when it first rolled out in 2014 that 7.5 million Americans paid the penalty.
Because there was a mandate in place
Right.
that you had to have insurance
And
to
then it
get
says
into
in
the
20
system to
2015
increase the pool to force corporations
It kept-
and the
it
industry
kept-
to
it kept
reduce the
decreasing,
cost of
yeah.
health care.
Jordan, we already agreed that it was forced. It was mandated that you had
But
to have.
you
healthcare.
you just missed everything else I said that
Yes.
reduced the cost of health care.
No, Jordan.
Okay.
Someone
No,
said they
don't
enforce the penalty
believe
when you
me.
file taxes. Is what I'm seeing here too.
So again, if that's
No,
the
more
case-
people. It says the reason that it happened, more people got insurance through their employer. Their employer started
increase
to
the
offer.
pool,
They started offering Medicaid. Had an expansion in states,
leverage to
Marketplace
reduce the
plan.
cost.
so they were helping people figure it out.
So,
So
again, the deals for companies got better because they said, you know what, we'll go out and find our own policies for our people, which is a great company. Again, that's why I would say at a company and said, you know what, I'm going to leave this job. And if the workforce said, you know what, we love this company, but we cannot afford the private health care, company CEO, would you do something and go to the market and buy a plan so we can stay here on our jobs and
Yeah.
find one that's affordable? So
Yeah.
again, it caused companies to change their policies. Or you left your job and you found a job and offered it. That's a reality of it.
Cause companies on a market exchange to compete neutrally with other
I don't know.
companies
I don't
to
know.
reduce the cost.
I don't know about the market exchange, but
That's the whole concept of
Well, yeah.
Obamacare was a market exchange.
well, you also know if you go to the hospital, if you go to the hospital and you don't have insurance, that the person that comes in, they come in,
He
they
just talking.
They come
right
and
now.
get you
I-
if you go to the hospital and you don't have insurance, they actually send somebody, a worker, like a intake specialist to see what you qualify for.
Yeah.
So they, I'm sure they just help people get it. You know what I mean? Like,
Again, we're missing the whole point. Is the cost of healthcare? That's the question.
You missed
no,
the
you're
whole
you're
point.
missing the point. We say they need
What you all are doing is having the access question. You're not talking about the cost of it. You're talking about who got.
No,
it.
we
you're not.
missing the
Because
cost.
again,
It's all in
if
there.
it was truly affordable, then tell me why when you remove the subsidies, with just taxpayers.
Yes.
When you move the subsidy and that real cost shows up,
Mhm.
that cost has not dropped. It has not been.
I have a question. So they
Answer that
went.
question. Why?
So they went on. They did the whole shutdown, right? Because of this. So
For the
when
extension.
for the extension. So when it was shut down and Republicans didn't come back with anything, like there was no other option.
Mhm.
What was gonna happen for January, like this year? What was the plan?
What's
there?
happening now?
So-
Yeah, like
Right.
what? Like if they hadn't expanded it, like what would the plan have
So
been?
the subsidies for the poor would have been there still. The only ones that would have been removed are the ones of the expansion. Remember, these are the enhanced, not the
Right, like they got on during COVID.
Here's the thing.
Right. The
Sub-
enhanced people would
Right.
have to pay.
This
they have to
affordable
pay-
health care
yeah.
is not the affordable health care for the poor. The law, the legislation was supposed to be affordable for everyone. So we can't just say, well, the subsidy is still in place for the poor. That disregards the affordability piece for the millions of people who don't qualify for healthcare, who are still dealing with affordability indexes. So that is that. So
What we-
there's still, I still
again-
don't hear a solution
again,
from
when
you
you
or the
look at-
administration
And you're
or
not
anyone on how we're
going
going to
to.
fix this.
And you're
I
not
think they're
going
I
to.
think you'll see they're floating ideas now. The pools. I like that idea.
The pools, again,
That's
I like
the
that idea.
okay.
we're in the affordable. Let's stop
Again,
calling it
okay,
Obamacare too.
Okay,
Then
okay,
Yes.
that,
again,
if that makes the
Jordan,
argument
again,
better
if
for
you
people.
continue to say these are great ideas, why didn't it change?
Why were the
cost?
pools? Why were the
Why
pools
the-
taken out of affordable health
No,
care?
I'm asking you, Jordan. If all the things you're saying are already in the
They're not in there right now.
Obamacare, tell me why did the cost of healthcare not go down?
The cost of healthcare has not gone down because the cost of living has not gone down in any industry or
Hasn't
any
made it- hasn't
sector.
made it affordable.
There's nothing in this world right now that is affordable to anyone.
Okay.
That is the issue.
So did
We need
Obamacare-
to
did
address
Obamacare,
what
address-
Obamacare
Obamacare-
was doing
Obamacare
was
didn't
trying
address
to
costs.
create processes in
I love how you
place
say that. Too.
that
You put an emphasis
creates
on Obama.
Obamacare
Obama.
I
did
yeah,
not-
I don't
Obamacare
understand.
did not help with the cost of healthcare. It gave people access to it and that cost was still, as you see now.
Okay, so let's just get rid of it then. That's what you're saying.
I mean,
Yes.
I think we should have a plan. I think people.
What's the plan?
And I
Again,
It's
you
the
can't.
concept of the plan. It's the concept of the plan. That's the plan. It's the
I
concept.
like the pool.
That's the plan.
I like
That's
the
kind
money. I like the money staying in the states.
To your point, to that
That's what
point,
they said in
at
the
least
States.
there was a plan in place where they attempted to do
So
something
again,
and got bipartisan support to pass legislation to do that.
I think.
And at
again,
every turn since 2014, there has been Republicans to try to kill it at every measure possible.
Yeah.
it's not affordable.
Now, Lewis in the comments, and then we're gonna close this one down because we talking. Lewis Miranda says healthcare, and where you at, Lewis? You're supposed to come tonight. Healthcare is always going to be expensive because he says both parties take major campaign donations from the insurance companies.
Yep.
It says Democrats have the chance to force a single payer option, never did.
Yep.
Republicans do the exact same thing right now and won't do it either. Single payer option will benefit us all.
Yep.
So I don't disagree with that.
Yep. Democrats are not
yeah.
angels in this
Yeah.
either.
Nope, at
They
all.
are beholden to corporate interests and the big money players too. And they have a lobby industry who is funneling money in there to make adverse decisions at the expense of the people.
Why does it take Lewis to tell you to get you to admit like the healthcare cost is a problem that you without subsidies it's a problem, man. So let's address.
No, we're not saying that.
I'm
We're
not-
not saying that.
So no,
We're not disagreeing
you,
with
you asked the question.
What
Well,
you-
how do you drive down the cost? How do you drive down the cost without subsidies? I give it to you, Mr. Scholar of Healthcare.
I'm not
How
a
would
scholar
you-
of healthcare.
How would
I'm
you?
not-
How would you just say so? Someone who
But
worked
sure,
in
let's
this
go
field-
there.
Right.
Let's go there.
Right,
So
right.
somebody who worked in this field. I should.
I used
You
to.
know,
Yeah.
again, how do you drive down healthcare without subsidies, man? You the thinker, think away, make
Sure.
a way without creating more.
Sure.
taxpayers. Go ahead.
Sure. You create a larger pool
Okay.
and you create optionality marketplace, right? And the larger pool
Optionality.
that's what a marketplace is. Option.
Free
You have
so you have choice.
that's what a market is. That's actually what Obamacare is. But okay, that's what we're saying. We're saying the same thing. Choice. The exchange, free market principles, right? Right. So you create a larger pool of people in the system by having those people that you talked about without kids and not just poor people, everybody feed into a system, which then forces the corporations or the insurance lobby and industry to negotiate lower healthcare, lower rates across the board
Mhm.
because the federal government regulates and mandates them to do that. What that does is the more people in the system, you spread the cost out more.
I don't know about that, but I would
That's
say,
exactly what it
That's
is.
what I would say is
He's
you
he's
have
right on.
more to your point. You have more buyer power because you have more people in the pool.
That's sure more buyer power. You have more. You have
So
which
free
does what?
markets, right?
Which l-
competition,
which
competition.
drives more competition, which leverages the corporate to what?
Make something that people can want. They want to buy.
Right, and it
Buy.
makes them reduce their costs because they
So
know
why
they can
don't
go
we-
somewhere
so
else.
why don't we just do that then, Jordan, without the
We
subsidies?
did do that.
No,
That's
no,
the fucking
no.
Affordable Care Act.
You leave.
Oh
off
my
the,
God.
You leave off the subsidies, bro. You leave off the subsidy.
Okay.
You leave the subsidy. So this scenario you just gave, I gave you the opening parameter. I said, do it without the subsidy, Jordan. Do it without the subsidy.
I didn't mention subsidies.
Like that.
I
That
didn't
is so
mention
funny.
subsidies one
because
time in that.
We're
though.
saying the same thing.
We're saying the same thing.
So
He's
if-
agreeing to
if
what
you-
we're
if
saying,
you
but then he's
say-
saying
if
something.
You
Yeah.
say,
Bro.
you do
That's
all
that Mac
these
in him.
things
Yeah.
Let him do it.
without the subsidy.
Yes.
So Jordan, you cannot say then, well, Obamacare did that, but it also adds subsidies. Is that what he's saying?
Why did they add the subsidy?
Jordan, if you have
no, hold on. That's a good question.
you have
No,
the answer-
why did they add
if
the
you have
subsidy?
the- Jordan, if you have the answer,
We had a
I
we
want
had
you to
a
answer that, though.
centuries-year
hold on.
pandemic
Hold on.
that
Hold on.
raised
You
the
wasn't
cost
playing.
of living
You wasn't
across the
playing.
board, that made it unaffordable for
He asked
me,
he asked
for
a good
you,
question.
for him, for
Hey,
everybody
hey,
else.
good question.
So the
cannot-
government
you cannot-
responded
cannot
with a
answer a question
solution
with a
to
question.
help people.
You cannot
I'm
answer
not
a question.
I'm not answering the
So again,
question.
let me finish my point. Let me land my plane here, big dog. Here you go.
Okay.
He gonna land the plane.
Atlanta plane.
If
Trump,
you
Trump's
say-
plane, right?
If you say all these things work
Yes.
without the subsidy,
Sure.
then why don't we do that without the subsidy then? Why do you need the subsidy if all these things will work without a subsidy?
Okay, hold on.
So do you need it or you don't need it?
Hey, hold on.
Does your plan work without the subsidy or with the subsidy?
Okay, we're gonna answer this, and then this is gonna be the closing.
Okay.
Jordan.
The plan as of today, 2026,
That ain't
with
what
the
asking you.
I'm gonna
I
get
want
it.
Jordan's plan.
With
I
the
want Jordan's-
economic
Give it to you.
forces that are happening right now, you can't help right now because we haven't, to your point, fixed the affordability piece in it. We can't. So we need the subsidies right now,
Okay.
not just for poor people. I'll take some subsidies
Okay.
because the cost of healthcare has skyrocketed.
Your solution doesn't work without the subsidies.
No. You asked me why we need the subsidies right now.
No, Jordan, does your solution work without subsidies?
Yes, if you do the whole
So
solution.
then why?
If you increase the pool, to your point, which gives you more buying power, right? How do you increase the pool?
Jordan, simple.
How do you increase the
Simple
pool?
question, man.
I'm answering the question.
Does your plan currently, in your mind, does it work without subsidies?
If you increase the pool,
I just asked you, do whatever your plan is, can it work without
yeah,
the subsidies?
it can run without. It can work without the
Let's do that.
subsidies.
Let's do that. Let's do that.
Well,
Let's make your plan work.
The problem is
Okay.
we were doing that, and
So-
again, you guys systematically took all the pieces out that forced us not to do that.
Jordan, if it was working, then the cost of healthcare wouldn't be high.
No, that's not true. That's simply
You just said
not
it.
true.
Would your
The
plan-
cost of healthcare is responding to market and economic conditions.
Jordan,
And we
Would your
read that in
would your
and I don't know where
plan-
you got that your
would your
information tape,
plan
but we
work?
also read that.
to drive down the cost of healthcare without subsidies.
If you force or mandate people to create a larger pool in the healthcare system, which will create more buying power, which will force the corporations and insurance lobby to reduce costs, then yes, it will work without the subsidies.
let's do that. Let's do that.
We were
You're not
doing that.
because again, if that worked, then Jordan, then
Because
why
we
do you
didn't
have
do
the
it that
subsidy?
way. Because to the whole fight around the taxes and the courts and the mandate, all these different things we just spent 30 minutes arguing about is the mechanism that created those forces to do that.
I'm just saying, Jordan, either your plan works off the subsidy or it does.
Okay.
And you say
All
it does.
Okay.
So if it does, let's do your plan minus the subsidy.
I would love to do the plan minus the subsidy, but we are
got
not in a
some-
position to do that.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
No,
I love it. I love it.
You know what? Thank you, Mr. Orlando, for the conversation. Thank you, Mr. Jordan, for
like-
Oh,
Headache.
read Lewis's. I think
trying
that would be
to-
a great,
Lewis
a
has
great close. His
Uh,
last one,
oh.
and then we'll close out. I think
Which
this
one?
would be a great close.
the one if wealthy Americans, that one, or
Yeah.
or this last because he's just posted something else too.
The very last.
Okay.
Oh no, both
Okay,
of them.
it said Louis Miranda, who's supposed to come on my show, by the way. I don't know where you at, bro.
What's up, big dog?
And he says he know both of y'all.
What's up, Louis?
If wealthy Americans paid their fair share of taxes,
Oh,
we could afford the
uh-oh.
health care.
Oh,
Also,
Be clear
and the-
about the last one.
and the
what's
last one, and the last one is in the Republican tax cuts for the super wealthy, and we can fund health care tomorrow.
All right, and that's our show for the evening. Everyone have a great night.
Yep.
Sleep tight, and we'll
Please
see
come
you
back.
Tuesday
Yep.
at 6.
Please come back next week. We're going to pick up kind of where we left off with poverty and
You like
that?
economics. Thank you.
You like that, Orlando?